coming out of Eastern Oregon, damn near Idaho. You're listening to the Double Talkin with Dog Bite Hair Show. Thank you everyone for tuning in to a very special episode of Double Talkin with Dog Bite. On this episode, I've got my good friend Alexis coming on, and this is a special episode because Alexis is not a musician. She's not my typical kind of guest. She is one of my oldest and dearest friends, and she just happens to be trans. She's a trans woman, so we kind of do an interview, and that's probably could ruffle some feathers, that's for sure. It could ruffle a lot of feathers. It could ruffle everybody's feathers nobody's safe. Everybody's feathers might be ruffled. If you're straight and if you're a straight cis male that's an asshole, you'll probably get your feathers ruffled. If you're trans, you might get your feathers ruffled. But this is kind of a disclaimer for that. And I just want everybody to be crystal clear when they listen to this that I am not transphobic. I have much love for the trans community. I donate to the Trevor Project. And I know the Trevor Project isn't just a trans organization, but it does support trans rights, and that's a subject that's very close to my heart, mainly because of my dear friend Alexis. And I've always been a firm believer that people are people at the end of the day, and as long as you're a person that doesn't hurt anybody and you don't have ill will towards other people and you don't want to fuck with how they live their lives, you don't want people to, and you don't try to make people live life the way you live life, but you just live your life as a good person. I don't care what you have in your pants or don't have in your pants or used to have in your pants but don't anymore. I don't care, it doesn't matter to me. And I also, don't care what you want to be called. I'll call you what you want to be called, and if I've known you a while, you want to be called something else, forgive me if I don't do that because of habits, I am a creature of habit, and sometimes, he or she might slip out, or a dude, or something when I'm not meaning it to be. So, but essentially there's a couple spots towards the end of this podcast where I ask some pretty hard questions, and I could tell they were hard by how Alexis answered them, and what her reaction was. And I don't want her to get any blowback for doing this interview against by the trans community. And she wanted me to really emphasize that her opinions and her experiences don't reflect the whole trans community. They reflect hers. And in mine, I really wasn't stating my opinions or my personal belief on things. I was asking questions. And I think in the process of doing that, I might have came off as an asshole a bit, and it wasn't my intent. I literally and it was just a few moments. That's why I said, just, if you hear something you don't like in here, please don't just turn it off and assume things. Keep listening, and once you're done, you still don't like it, I'm sorry. But I think I think the majority of the people, if they listen to the whole thing, they'll understand. All I'm doing is asking questions. I'm not assuming anything. I'm not stating my opinion on anything. I'm asking questions and kind of discussing what I view as logical in a couple senses, and it's mainly because I'm searching for answers. And I don't think my logic is, I'm not claiming my logic is right ever, because I'm wrong more than I'm right, trust me. And anybody who knows me knows that's true. So Anyways, listen, and let me know what you think. This is a cool interview. Yeah, and on top of everything else too, we tell old stories. If you're a fan of mine, you get to hear a few old school teenage stories about me raising hell when I was a kid, and things that had happened. So anyways, yeah. So I just want to say this before we roll into it. Just a disclaimer, yeah. So if you don't like it because it's got a trans woman on it, I don't really care. If you don't like it because you're trans and you feel like it offends you, I'm sorry. I hope you listen to the whole show. If you still want to be pissed, I don't really care. The one thing I would say, I would encourage you, if you're trans or you're gay or bisexual or anything I say in this offends you, please hit me up. Hit me up on a private message. I will take every second it needs to show the attention to you guys to try to understand better and to try to be better. But like I state in this podcast, I've never learned anything by having anybody attack me or call me names or be rude. If you want to have a civilized conversation, we can have that. I love to have civilized conversations. I love to learn things. And that's essentially all I was trying to do in this podcast. And that's essentially all I wanted to do to bring to the world, to the 5 people that are going to listen to this. All I wanted to do is try to give straight cis men an idea of what it's like to be trans. So that's it, just hoping to help people understand and be a little more empathetic, so that's that. We're already at 7 minutes. I've re-recorded this a bunch because I always get to like 10 or 11 minutes and I'm like, this is way too long of a disclaimer. So 7 minutes is still probably long, but I'm probably going to keep this one. This music doesn't have any music, or this episode doesn't have any music because there's not any music to play. But before I roll into the interview, I will roll into a quick ad from our sponsor, $2 Elvis.
Howdy, my name is $2 Elvis. I'm the owner-operator of King of the Road VIP Chauffeur Service. That's the tour guide service where you take a tour of Nashville with me, the King.
Well, look out now, I'm cruising around town. You wanna see the city, I'll take you around. Hop on in my baby blue sedan, but don't get jealous of my hundreds of fans. I'll show you the sights and all the bright lights. You say, Elvis, take the wheel. Elvis, take the wheel. Elvis, $2 Elvis, take the wheel.
All you gotta do, baby, is go to www.2elvis.com. Select your date, put down that deposit, and you got a date with me, the King.
Elvis, $2 Elvis, take the wheel.
Alrighty, folks. With me actually live. Usually I do something over Zoom. I got my good pal Alexis with me. Alexis is a trans woman. We have been friends since forever. And I wanted to interview her and kind of just have a conversation, really, just like I do with anybody. But I think this topic's extremely important. And I feel like I'm close to it, not only just because she's my best friend, but where we were raised. And excuse, my cat is taking a shit in the next room. So if you hear kitty litter, that is exactly what it is. It's the sound of kitty litter being stirred. Jesus Christ, it's buried, boo. It's been like 10 minutes. Are you burying that poop? Are you done? Nope. Anyways, so I think what makes this a bit unique is that we're from a town of like 1,200 people. And the struggle of being in that town is, and being different is it's a pretty big burden for anybody. And this particular situation, I feel like it was probably the most different and most out of place you could be in a town like that. And that's coming from me, who never felt like I was ever in place there. So, I mean, I guess we could start by like, and I know your memory shit because you don't remember shit. So do you recall when you started realizing that you're different than everybody else?
I don't know. Like you said, my memory shit. I don't know. We were still in like elementary school. And I just know I always identified with all the girls a lot more than I did with the boys. And, you know,
which actually got you a lot of pussy in high school.
But it was also embarrassing in elementary school because we'd line up and I just get in line with the rest of the girls.
Yeah.
Until the teacher's like, have you lost your fucking mind? Get in line with all the boys over here.
Yeah, I mean,
that's really where it started. But I mean, I didn't have a name for anything. I didn't know anything. I just thought I was like a sicko.
Yeah.
When I was that old. I just thought I was sick in the head because there wasn't a name for anything like that back then where we grew up.
Yeah. And I mean, and it wasn't talked, like you said, I mean, not even just a name, but just any of it in general just really wasn't talked about.
Yeah. At
that point in time, you know, it wasn't normalized. And since it wasn't discussed, especially in a small town like that, I can imagine that probably would make you feel really different, you know. And this is from a town where it's very, if you're a man, you're expected to be a man's man, you know. And if you don't relate to that kind of, as they call it, toxic masculinity, you're going to be different in general. So I imagine being trans, or definitely identifying as a female, did make you feel like wrong, you know. And that's a side of things that I guess I just have never really seen.
Well, my only real experience with anything like that was in media, where you've got like Rocky Horror Picture Show or the punchline to some joke in a sitcom. Like you'd see men in a dress and it was like the punchline to a joke.
We watched Rocky Horror Picture Show for the first time together, and now I realize why you liked it so much. It's because it was normalizing something for you. I didn't get it. We watched The Crow and Rocky Horror Picture Show together on Halloween for the first time when we were in 7th grade. And I was like, The Crow is the greatest movie ever. And then I was like, what the fuck is this? I'm going to sleep. And you're like, I like it. So, which is, I mean, it's like, but we never had access to that shit ever, you know, like we didn't know, like it was just weird to me, you know. I don't know. I didn't necessarily think it was weird even. I just like, I didn't get it. I was like, this movie's old, you know. What's the guy from Home Alone doing in fucking a dress? You know?
The guy from Home Alone.
Tim
Curry. Yeah, I forgot he was in Home Alone.
Yeah, he was the butler in Home Alone 2. Or Meatloaf too is another one I recognize because my mom loved Meatloaf. Yeah, and so Susan Sarandon was so young and hot in that movie, I didn't even recognize her. But yeah, so when did these things, like, I don't know, because I know like you came out as bi to me when we were 18. Yeah, 18.
Were we 18 already?
Yeah, we're 18. I know that you told me that you'd been doing stuff, but you didn't want to tell me because and this is like, you've been a life teacher for me in a lot of ways, because in so many ways, not just with like accepting people for being trans or being gay, but just in general, you've always made me question what was normal in that town. And I probably owe a debt of gratitude to you for that, because, you know, I don't know if I would have turned out the way I did if I would not have had a friend like you. If I would have just hung out with the fucking loony boys like I was and not been like, no, I want to hang out with this guy. He's fucking cool. At that point in time,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fuck your pronouns
No.
up.
It's okay.
But, we'd been in fist fights before we became friends, because my friends didn't like you. And even though I might have, I just went along with the crowd that I was with. If you were an enemy of my friend, you were an enemy of mine. And essentially, once we hit junior high, I was like, wow, like, I don't really like my old friends as much. And we just became friends. And one thing is like religion, is one thing that you've always pushed me on. And I was always Christian and never fucking knew why, even though I never related to anybody inside a church, always felt fucking out of place there, but I was always scared to not be fucking Christian.
Well, yeah, everyone in town was.
And
except for, I think, the one Catholic church.
Yeah, well, fuck. And I remember fucking we were in 7th grade and we came across a Ouija board in Murray's, and I was like, we have to burn this. This is fucking devil worshiping shit. And it was like that moment that like completely changed your whole world and mine, because we hit it and we were going to come back and buy it because it was like $11, which is probably like the equivalent of $50 in today's currency.
We're not that old. I mean, maybe it was like,
I don't know. It feels like it, man.
$25-$30.
Yeah, probably. I guess that's probably more accurate. But I mean, it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
For us at that time. And especially, I was really poor and your parents never gave you shit without you fucking having to do 80 hours of yard work to fucking get it. So, or you walking around doing your paper route, so, but you went back and bought it so you could fucking play with it, I guess is what I'm getting at. And I'm like, oh, and then that got you into like a whole realm of Wiccan shit, which I think kind of maybe, and the internet was just coming up around this time too, which is probably what really helped you start figuring out just who you were as a person and not just as being trans. I imagine the internet helped you find people. Well, I know it did, because you tried to run away because you met people that you related to, I
had friends online. No, I remember when the internet hit Hepner, and we had just got a computer. Like, I had been fucking around with computers forever. And
you were the ones that didn't have internet. You were always into technology and shit.
But once we had like a functioning computer with a dial-up modem, then our computer would call the library, and the library would hook you onto the internet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, the phone number that our computer dialed to get internet was the library's like phone number.
Oh, okay.
So I just remember that, like, trying to set it up and like get the internet started.
Yeah.
We had to call the library.
Yeah, it took forever fucking too. I remember trying to fucking, and this was probably after that was a way when we're just trying to download music and burn CDs. It was like a weekend event that I'd spend a whole weekend over at your house so we could burn 2 CDs.
Yeah.
And
if
that's what
anyone
we did.
answered the phone, it just kick you off.
Oh, really? Oh, fuck. When did you first get it? Because I know that I never even was able to really fuck with it. I remember when I really started fucking with the internet hardcore is when Tyler Henderson moved into town. That was in 7th grade, and he had internet.
We lived in Lexington at the time. So
Okay.
we had moved out of Hepner, and we lived in Lexington. The first computer we had was in Hepner, but we didn't get any internet until
we moved there in 8th grade, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So
I think that was the first time we got the internet. But like all our downloads and stuff, all the music and stuff like that, we always did that at night.
Oh,
everyone was asleep, because if anyone answered the phone and kicked our ass off the internet, you'd have to start your download over from scratch.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that whole part of it. But yeah, I mean, that Ouija board kind of opened up a whole new world of religion for you, which essentially was an influence on me. And in some ways, like it took me a little longer. I kind of fought it a bit more than you did. You were kind of just like, no, Christianity's bullshit. Like, And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't want you to go to hell, friend. And kind of held on to that for a couple of years longer than you did. But then I was like, yeah, this is bullshit. I remember being stoned out of my mind at this youth group because I wanted to fucking hit on this girl with big boobs. And once she stopped going, I kept going anyways, hoping she would come back. And I just remember like hating being around those type of people. And it's not, this isn't a jab at all Christians, because I've got a lot of good Christian friends, you know, but a certain breed of Christians, you know, those people that are like, they're like so demanding. They're like, we're going fishing Saturday. Do you want to come? And you're like, no, thanks. And then they show up at your house. We just thought you'd want to go fishing, maybe. Like, no, I don't fucking want to go fishing, you know? And it's, you know, 2 months of this, finally, I'm hearing these guys just talk, and all they do is gossip and fucking make you feel like shit about your life. And I literally just like stood up in the middle of this and just walked out, and I never went back to church in a personal way ever again. Been to a couple weddings, been to a couple events that were held in churches, but never have been to a sermon or a fucking Sunday fucking study school or a.
You never had confession?
Yeah, I think I went to a couple youth groups after that, because sometimes there's like free pizza and they try to bribe you to go there, you know, but other than that, never really took it serious after that, you know. And I don't know if I would have had that kind of influence, you know, your kind of influence in my life. I don't know if that would have happened. And then leading into, you know, being like 18, and we're in the, I like to call it the era of Eminem, where, you know, homophobic slurs are like being thrown around like nothing, racist slurs, all this stuff. You know, people, the 90s and the early 2000s, late 2000s even, were kind of a no holds barred for what you could say. You know, it was like, if your feelings are hurt, tough shit, you know. And, you know, having that conversation with you really made me realize that what I say matters, you know, because you told me you didn't want to tell me because you're afraid I wouldn't like you, because I was always saying homophobic shit, you know. And I'm just like, no, that's just shit I say, you know. And I told you, I'm like, I'm not going to stop saying it just because you are, you know. And it's like, but you know, but it did start turning my head. That, you know, it started making me think totally differently at that point in time, where I'm like, and I fucking knew.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't surprise me at all, one fucking bit. Like, I knew, like, when you're hanging out with somebody, and I probably related to you more because of it, even though I'm not, you know, but I'm different. And I was always different. I was always fucking treated differently in that town. My mom's got her share of issues. She's a single mom. We were fucking poor. I was dirty, you know? So obviously, you know, you were different too. You didn't relate to everybody else who thinks they're fucking perfect in that town. So like, we were brought together by a bond of being different, but in just separate ways, you know? And there was a few of us, like Rob came from a great family, and he was just weird, you know. Tyler Henderson was another one. He even got along with everybody, and he's such a nice kid, but he was just a little different. He liked to play D&D. Like, and we all had our things that made us different. And then some of us, it was kind of cool because some of us related in different ways. Like Rob kind of did everything. Like Rob did the D&D and Vampire the Masquerade and the music. I did more of the music. Like, why, like, you guys would be like playing fucking Vampire the Masquerade or fucking D&D, I'd be like looking at porn on Tyler's fucking internet, just hanging out and not doing it. I'd be like, this is stupid. I'm gonna fucking look up porn, or like look up wrestling fucking play on the computer. Like one time we had to figure out how to get fucking Tyler's computer clean because I'd looked up porn for like 10 hours and like it was just stuck in the fucking the search bar and we couldn't figure out how to get it cleared off. Tyler's like, fuck. Like, so we just started Googling or whatever it was at the time. There wasn't even Google then, but we had to spend like 3 hours, like just being like monster trucks into the fucking search bar.
You just searched all the weirdest shit to like clear out the bar.
Yeah. But so, I mean, I guess like the thing I'm trying to get at is like, you always seem pretty happy though, you know, happier than me. I was a miserable son of a bitch, you know? So I guess like part of me is like, I was kind of surprised to know that you'd been living with this kind of thing for so long, because, and you also later in life, once you got out of here, I feel like you stopped caring about what people thought as much, but I realized apparently you still did, and I don't feel like you were as nervous to tell me that you were going to transition as you were to tell me that you were bi. Am I wrong or no?
No, like I don't know. We had like been so close for so long that I knew that I could tell you and you were gonna be like fucking queer, like get off. And I don't know. I didn't think you were gonna stop wanting to hang out with me and stuff like that. I mean, I was still nervous, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I didn't feel like I was going to lose my best friend because I said something, because I came out or something like that. I knew you'd still have my back. I was just.
Yeah. But you waited a while because Rob knew, because he found your fucking computer. Because like Rob, when I told Rob about it, Rob was like, yeah, I've known for years. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I found a bunch of fucking gay porn on his computer once. We swapped. I was like, huh. But that told me right there, Rob McKenzie, with as stupid as he is, that motherfucker could keep a secret.
Yeah, he did not care less.
Yeah, he could have held that above your head and been a fucking dick about it. And he kind of seems like the type of person that would, honestly. And it kind of seems like the type of person that would go blab his mouth. But like, I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm like,
I don't know. That strikes me as something that's too big. Like if it was something minor.
Like he knew his boundaries, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I might not have at that age. I might have been a dick about it, but I feel like Rob was kind of like the type of person that would do that. So like it's cool to know that he was just like, yeah, whatever. But
yeah, I think if it would have been something a little more minor, something that wouldn't, I don't know, get you ostracized.
What probably would have done it is if you would have denied it, he probably would have held it above your head. If you'd have been like, oh, I just accidentally downloaded that by mistake, then he would have fucked with you, probably. Mercilessly, he probably would have fucking did it in front of all of us. Like, oh, like the time I found that gay porn on your computer and it was an accident. I could see something like that, But you said that since you were like just came clean with him. But yeah, I was like, fuck, man. I was kind of like, what the fuck? I didn't know. But at that point in time, maybe I probably wouldn't have been in a good place to know. I probably would have ran my mouth. You probably knew that. But and I don't think you're real active. And I think he may have still been trying to figure that whole thing out. But did you know you were trans at this whole time too? Or like, did you know, or you just know that you related more to women?
It wasn't until like early teens, like 13, and I was finally like, I should have grown up as a woman. Like I should be dealing with a woman's puberty right now instead of a man's puberty. And like it started getting really heavy at that point. And that was like when I started cutting myself. And I was just like, I was fine around everyone else, but you get me alone in my room at night and it was just, I would just sit there and torture myself.
That's because I remember when you started cutting yourself, I was there when you bought those X-Acto knives. And I remember like just being like, wow, that's just really tough. I couldn't cut myself like that. And then I remember your mom just flipping out because you like carved Metallica into your fucking hand or something.
Oh yeah, that was when I first started. It was like on the back of my hand, and then I had to get sneaky after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that was when you're a kid, you don't put that shit together.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when it started, huh? When you really started?
When it started getting hard. I mean, it wasn't something I even really dealt with on a daily basis. There would be like little things here and there that would make me think like, well, this isn't right. Like my role in this is not right.
Yeah.
But then once I started hitting like my early teens, then it started getting really hard. And there's a moral of that story. I forgot what it was. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So that's one thing. So like, as you were getting older, moving past that, like, did times get like better or did it just get worse? Because like you just said, like I only saw the side of you that, I mean, we're all different when we're alone.
Yeah.
You know, and we all struggle with shit when we're alone, you know, especially when you're growing up and you're a teenager. Like I struggled with my weight, you know, and I hit puberty really late and that fucked with me badly. Like I would call your fucking house. I was like 16 and your dad would be like, there's some girl on the phone for you. I'd be like, motherfucker, like Ernie. Yeah, tell your fucking dad I'm not a girl, you know? And like, so in order to fucking try to make up for that, to be the biggest dickhead in the world, you know, I'd have to out dickhead the biggest dickheads because I'm the only dude in the shower that's got like 4 fucking pubes on my nutsack and everybody else has got hair under their armpits and fucking talking about banging chicks on their fucking weekend when I look like a fucking beluga whale and fucking have got no chance of pussy with anybody who's any good looking, really, you know. Like I should have just took your role in high school and ran with it because I could have got pussy in high school, but I cared too much. Like you fucked so many girls in high school. Like, yeah. And you didn't really care what they looked like. I was like, called you the confidence builder because you were just like, whatever. Like if they want to fuck me, I'll give them a piece. as long as they shower fairly regularly and they're not mentally retarded, you could have fucking got a piece of Lexi in high school.
Just so you all know, you missed your chance. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I remember just being like, what the fuck are you doing with that girl? You know? And that's mean. I was mean. And, you know, that's a lot of my own insecurities too, you know, and that's why I think it's important to address bullying, but really address it, you know, because there's times where I could be a bully, but I was also fucking being bullied. And that's how bullies cope with being bullied. You know, shit rolls downhill. You know, it doesn't make it right, but that's how you fix the problem is by figuring out how the problem starts. You know, you just don't always just look at the victim as the victim. Sometimes the victim is also the person that's doing the punishment, you know. And these are all things I came to realize trying to figure myself out, you know, and I've done a lot of that myself, you know. My journey's probably definitely not anywhere as hard as yours has been, but it's definitely fucking there. You know,
we've all got our different burdens. Like
so,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are things though that have really, you've been a great friend to have because if I wouldn't have had somebody like you, I probably would have just had the fucking loony boys. I would have just hung out with a bunch of douchebags, you know, and I would not.
But on the flip side, like you were always there for me. It was either if it wouldn't have been you, it would have been who, Rob.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's a better alternative to the loony boys. But Rob probably would have never pushed you to do anything, you know?
Yeah, Rob would have been my closest friend. And before I met Rob, I just didn't have a friend if you weren't there.
Yeah.
Like, especially when I first moved up here. Well, not
fuck, you wanted, I feel bad too, because you wanted to be my friend then, but everybody was like, he's a nerd, he's weird. And I was just like, I didn't like
my camo jumpsuit.
Yeah, I didn't fucking mind you, honestly, but I was just such a dick, you know? Like, I even invited to my 5th grade birthday party, and then like a bunch of my friends didn't show up. Well, not a bunch, but like a couple. You know, it's like kids are fucking mean, man. You were probably the nicest kid in our class, one of them. You know, you were never hardly mean to anybody. I know around 6th grade when you started hanging out with like Eli Burke, things shifted a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, but I think we were all being shits then. You know, we're all smoking and just fucking figuring shit out, you know, like
hiding under the bridge. So you could smoke.
Fighting each other because we're under the bridge and fucking shouldn't, like, that was my bridge to be under, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Eli Burke was the first kid to kick my fucking ass. And were you there when he did?
I don't think so.
Fuck, he kicked my fucking ass. I thought you were there. Yeah. I got real arrogant. That's what happens when you pick a fight with a kid that fights his dad when he's in 6th grade, you know?
Dude, his dad was scary.
Oh, yeah, dude. He'd fucking shot Tony Looney's dad.
Did he?
Yeah, dude. I forgot about that till just now. Like, Tony Looney's dad got fucking shot in Hebner from fucking Eli's dad. And it happened years before they'd moved back. But yeah, that's why Tony and Eli always had beef. It's because Eli's dad, they got drunk at the bar one night and fucking Eli's dad hid in a tree and fucking shot fucking Tony's dad. It was a big deal around town. You probably don't remember because you don't remember shit. But I found out years later. Actually, I found out about the time Eli was moving. That's why it was Eli's dad. And he went to jail for it. And that's why Eli's dad went to jail, was for shooting. And he didn't kill him or even really injure him too bad, luckily. And that's why he didn't do more than a couple of years. But like, yeah, Eli'd be like, my dad played for the Trailblazers. Like, dude, you just told us like a week ago your dad was in prison. And he was, because he's a crackhead.
Yeah.
Like, your dad.
Dude, that guy was scary, though. I remember so Eli and me were walking around town, like lighting off fireworks. And we had almost like, that stone bridge. Oh, I'm trying to remember what else is there. There's like a museum there now, going over the creek right when you come into town on the back road.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, on the stone bridge, down there was a little island. And so we lit this firework. We threw it over the edge to throw it into the water. It lands in this little island. It catches that shit on fire.
Oh, I think I remember that shit when it happened, actually. Didn't you guys get in trouble for throwing rocks off the Columbia Basin? Fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't a good influence. With this, your mom. No wonder your mom probably loved me, because no matter how much of a shithead I was, I was never as bad as Eli. Bad. Yeah. Your mom kept me out of so much trouble, dude. Fuck. God bless that woman. God fucking bless her. But it's kind of funny though, because your niece the other day sold me some coffee and she's like, oh yeah, I heard stories about you. I was like, all right, okay, hold on. Let's pump the fucking brakes here, because I've gladly taken a lot of shit for your Aunt Lexi over the years, that your grandmother thinks that fucking she was so fucking innocent. But when in general, like, I'd never smoked pot until I fucking started hanging out with Lexi. There's a list of things that I never did. I just took the ball and ran with it. And I was an entrepreneur. Like, you were like, let's get stoned. I'm like, let's sell this shit and get stoned, because we can make money and not pay for it.
And then I'd come by and be like, don't leave the house for a while.
Yeah. Don't leave the house for a while. And if you do, leave your weed at home, because yeah,
those were the days.
Dude, they were always like, I don't know, that's kind of funny though, because they'd never catch on to me when I was actually doing that shit that was too wrong. It'd always be like they'd make shit up, like I'd always be doing shit and getting away with it. Nobody would suspect it. And this is why, because I was always doing shit when I had money. I was always working and busy. So they'd be like, oh, that Harris kid, at least he's working, But I always had money to buy drugs and whatever, but when I wasn't working, I didn't have money for that shit. But that's when they always, oh, he's up to no good, because I'm just walking around town because I don't have any money or anything to do, I also didn't have money for drugs, So
actually I'm getting some exercise in. I'm behaving myself.
Yeah, and then they start following me around, There's a couple times where I was doing some shit and they were pretty hot onto me. I know fucking Travis Rody's dad, when he became a cop, I was selling some weed pretty hot and he had a boner for me pretty good. And Randy Rayburn a couple times right when I graduated high school was on my ass. I fucking hate that motherfucker still to this day. But yeah. So there's a couple times where it did definitely come in handy to have you as a friend when your mom was kind of a copish, but not that she never told me anything. And there was never anything said in an illegal kind of way. I'll tell you that.
Not at all.
She had a fucking really coy way of making me realize that I needed to straighten my shit out without saying anything that was gonna put her job in jeopardy or her oath. Because your mom is a very smart woman. I love her to death. But yeah, I mean, fuck though. Like, there's another thing too, is like, fuck, man. And a lot of the times we're at your house. What the fuck? I mean, and we did do some shit at your house, but fucking, but not very often. Your dad got up at like 3:00 in the morning to go to work 6 days a week. Sometimes he'd be like, we can't smoke pot tonight because my dad gets home at 3 and then it'll still smell like weed out here when he gets up. So like, I guess we're chewing fucking Skull Wintergreen tonight and playing fucking Tony Hawk or whatever, Thrasher, That's what we did a lot of, is just play PlayStation and something stupid, you know, wander around town, sneak out. But
Yeah, that town thought I was up to no good.
you were
'Cause
up to fucking no
they'd see me
good.
walking around at like in 8, 9 o'clock at night, sun's down, just walking around town. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, well, there's really much else to do.
I know. Well, that was the thing. There was nothing to do, and I wanted to smoke.
Yeah.
Like I had cigarettes. I wanted to smoke one, and so go walk around town for like 2 hours.
Waiting for all the cars to stop people to
Yeah, just to smoke a cigarette.
That's funny. Yeah. So like, I don't know if we ever answered that question though. Like, so did things get any easier or harder as you got?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's right. I got
tangent.
sidetracked.
When I got older, I think it was like I just kind of shoved it down.
Really?
Like I ignored it, and it wasn't a possibility. Like it couldn't be a thing. So why dwell on it?
Yeah, you just learned to live with it a bit.
Yeah, I just shoved it down as far as I could and just went on with life. And it got easier for a while because it wasn't anything I ever thought about.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think it was when I moved to Klamath Falls. It's when it really, I've had enough.
Yeah. There wasn't a time like when you were with Rachel or anything where things were starting to kick around?
Yeah, a little bit. But it was with like people that if I told them they thought I was weird and a freak or something like that, then I could just never talk to them again. No, it wouldn't break my heart to forget they exist.
Oh, okay.
So it was the people I really cared about that it was harder to tell like people like you. Because like if we never talked again,
I don't think I would have understood it at all at that time either, because it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
In our world, you know, I mean, it might have been in yours because you were having these feelings. So like you might have been interested in doing like research on it, but for me, it wasn't. So like, I mean, we'd watch, we know drag queens were, but that was just to us ladies dressing or guys dressing like ladies for fun, or
or like for a show.
Yeah. So I don't think I would have understood it at that time, you know. And it did shock me a bit, honestly. I knew that you were doing drag in Portland, you know. You kind of hit a spot there where we got separated and we didn't talk for a while.
Yeah.
That was the point in time where it was still fairly acceptable to not have a cell phone. So I'd not pay my bill and then not have a phone for 6 months. And you would do the same thing, or, you know, or finally MySpace came and and that back then, like you didn't have to check your social media every half hour either, you know, like you could
check
go
it once a week or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you got bored.
Yeah. So there was a time, but I knew, I was like, oh, wow. Like, that's interesting. And I like made a comment, like, you look like your mom.
I'm pretty sure I saw that picture on my phone where not the picture of the comment, just that picture that you commented on.
Yeah, fuck, my lighter's dead. I go through more lighters now, burning sage, and I didn't want to smoke weed. It's all right, it's still going.
Yeah, when I moved to Klamath Falls, there was a couple of times where like I got drunk, so I would get dressed up and I would feel pretty and I would go to the bar and no one beat my ass, like on the plus side.
Yeah.
Everyone looked at me funny, but nobody tried to beat me up. So I was okay with that. I got home and of course, I got way too drunk. I drove home when I shouldn't have. And then I get home and I try and like heat up something in the microwave and pass out on the couch. Wake up to my mom, who's just like, wipe that shit off your face and fucking get to bed.
Oh, like, shit. Yeah, and that's not a good feeling.
It was not okay.
Yeah.
So, like, I came out and my mom's just like, that's not a thing. Like, you can't. That's not a thing. Just be happy with who you are.
And I think that's, was one of my struggles with it for me, which, this kind of sounds selfish, but is like, I was happy with you. So I was like,
yeah.
And then I was like, well, this is going to change things, and you were kind of like, well, it doesn't have to. I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of gonna, and it's just it's just nature. It's not, and it took some getting used to. Part of me did feel like I lost my friend for a minute. I think with time, it doesn't so much feel like that anymore. But it was definitely, and I was like, I was all about it too. Like, and I never wasn't really, so, but I didn't expect to struggle with it at all, so when I did, I really felt like shit. Like, why is this fucking bothering me? And it wasn't that you went from being a man to being a woman, but it was like, I think it was that I've just related to you being a male for like my whole life, and now I had to train my mind to relate to you as a female, and that makes things different and not bad, but it's just different, that's all. And like I say, they call it kind of the mourning process, is what a friend of mine who had his son transition over to being a woman. So he kind of was like telling me about it, like, no, that's normal. You're not a piece of shit. So he's like, it happens. He's like, no, I was like, totally. He's like, I just same thing. I was totally cool with my daughter doing it too. And then I kind of was like, well, fuck, where's my son?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and my parents did that too.
Yeah.
And I don't know, from like my point of view, at first I was like, well, this is who I am. But then after a while, it's like, okay, I need to give the other people in my life a little bit of time and space, because they're dealing with it too.
Yeah.
I mean, not in the same way, but they're dealing with it too. And so I can't just expect everything from them right off the bat, because I've been dealing with this my whole life. I've been doing research. I've done this.
And it blindsided.
And then, a lot of people got blindsided where they've had 30 minutes to think about this, not, 20 years.
I mean, and I got eased into it pretty good. Like I was there for the whole thing. So there was even probably about a year where you were still Chris, and still just going through the process, where things hadn't changed too much.
Yeah. So
it was a slow burn for me, but there was a lot of people that were like, I remember people like coming up to me because they're best friends being like, what the fuck's up with Chris? Like, the fuck do you think's up? Like,
check my MySpace page.
Ask her,
No.
Oh yeah, and that happened when you're doing even when you're doing drag. People would do that. They'd be like,
that's what my cousin Mike called me, and he was like, "So is this like for real, or is this on the weekends?" I'm like, "No, this is for real." He's like, "Oh."
Yeah, he was like, I told her, or he's like, I told him her just don't cut your dick off. That's what I told him. Just don't cut your dick off. I'm like, yeah, because that changes things, Mike. I was like, that's why it's right in the middle of the store. So that changes things, doesn't it? I was like, as long as her dick's there, that's all that'll make it okay. God won't care.
Okay, then.
Yep. But whatever. I like Mike. Whatever he has to do to process that in his own little way, make it okay. That's fine. Good. And I love Mike for not fucking being a dick about it. I mean, that's Mike's way of not being a dick about it.
Yeah.
And that's his way of supporting you, because he's fucking goddamn hillbilly, and God bless him for it, whatever, but that's his way of making it okay, I guess, and I'm sure if you were like, I'm going to go cut my dick off, he would be like, oh, whatever. I mean, what's he going to say?
You.
He'd probably try to like talk you out of it. Like, I don't know if you should do that. What if you still decide you want a penis tomorrow? Like, you might not want to be a girl tomorrow, man. You might not want to do that because there's no turning back. That might be like what you'd get, but he'd be okay with it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. I imagine that was fucking interesting though, knowing Mike.
Yeah, a couple of interesting phone calls.
Fuck, dude. What was if your grandpa Melvin was still alive, that would be.
I don't know. There at the end, he probably wouldn't even understand. He'd just be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Hey, Jen?
Yeah, or that. You get a couple drinks in and then maybe hit on me. I don't know.
You probably think he's your mom. Maybe you had dementia. Janine, is that you? Yeah, I'm your grandpa. So yeah, anyway, so I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess this isn't as like groundbreaking as I thought it would be, because like my thing was I really want to focus on your struggle of coming out or like living with this in like a small town. So maybe we can dive back into that. Like, what were some of your biggest fucking things? What like really? Because like I said, for the most part, I mean, you could kind of tell sometimes that you had some issues. Well, like, I mean, looking back, I know you had some issues. You tell me you were suicidal. And I was just like, whatever. He just listens to Metallica. Or like, I remember one time you gave me
typo negative.
You were all like, yeah. You were like, I went to the health department and got antidepressants because they can't tell your parents that you get them. And I'm like, oh, cool. So in my head, I was like, you want to get fucked up. So I was like, let me have some of your Zoloft, man. And you're like, it doesn't work that way. It
doesn't do that.
You're like, here's one, I guess. And I took it. I'm like, whatever. Probably walked around and acted like I was fucked up or super happy for like 4 hours and not realizing it probably just fucking did me more harm than fucking good. But like, there's stuff like that. Like, you just don't get it when you're fucking stupid and young. Those are like warning signs. But like, what things just like drove you fucking nuts about being in Hebner? Because like Hebner is a fucking very conservative, very stuck in its ways, never fucking changes. Their way's the only way, and that's not really. I know a lot of great-hearted people in Hebner. Not everybody's like that, but the overall mentality of that, and there's a lot of good people that'll turn a blind eye to that shit because they know the fucking consequences of it, So they're like, they won't be the ones to stand up and say something. They'll turn a blind eye to people being a fucking bigot, a fucking homophobe. And while we're on the subject, on like every podcast I fucking hate the term homophobic. Nobody is homophobic. It's to be a phobia is a fear of something. Nobody's afraid of gay people or trans people. They're just assholes who think they deserve to tell people how to fucking live their lives, even though their lives aren't fucking being affected at all by this, at least negatively.
Amen.
Nobody's trying to fucking make anybody be trans that's not already trans.
Oh no, you didn't know that's the trans agenda. I'm working towards the gay agenda. Yeah.
Gotcha. So
that's what we do. The hardest part probably, like, I don't know. I just had a whole like outward personality that was crafted to be okay. Like, yeah, it wasn't great, but it wasn't going to get me drunk behind a truck or anything like that. So there was a lot of, is this music okay to listen to around everyone else? And after a while, like, you kind of wear that mask for so long. Like, okay, these movies aren't okay to watch around anyone else because they're going to think something. This music's not okay to listen to around anyone else. Like,
what kind of movies and what kind of fucking music?
Well, I know one of them, a big one, was like Tu Wong Fu.
Oh yeah,
I
fucking love Tu Wong Fu.
I love that movie. Pretty much anything sung by a woman that's not country. Like, maybe some like girl rock was okay, but like any kind of pop music was like not okay.
Oh yeah, no.
And or like the techno, but I got into techno, but none of it had lyrics or anything. Like,
and people were at that time, there was a lot of fucking heterosexual fucking going on in techno. Like, it was, I wanted to like techno bad because I knew that even I could probably get laid at a rave, but I just hated it so fucking much. I tried to, like, I would always be like, I like the rave lifestyle. Well, yeah, of course, there's drugs and pussy everywhere. Of course you like the lifestyle. I could learn to like techno if I'm high on ecstasy and chicks are rubbing their sweaty bodies on me, but like no. I just even with that, I don't think I would have liked techno music.
Can we take this party somewhere else where the music's a little different? I mean, we'll keep the ecstasy in the women. We'll just go find a different venue.
Yeah.
So I don't know. After wearing that mask for so long,
It's kind of
it just becomes who you are. And then every once in a while, like something would kind of creep out, and then it was jarring at that point. Like, why do I like this?
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't like this. This isn't who I am. You know, I listen to Metallica and I watch action movies and I drive fast and jump my car, which I still would do. I bet you. If I could have come out at 10 years old, I would have grown up at 16 jumping my car off a slaughterhouse still. But
yeah.
So like it was a lot of little things, and finding out what was okay and what wasn't okay. Because sometimes it'd be like, oh yeah, this will be okay.
Well, obviously you kind of came to terms with it because like I said, like Rob found out about the time you were 16 or so.
Yeah, but not for anything I wanted him to find out.
Yeah, I know, but like
that was on accident.
But apparently you didn't have the mask on all the time behind closed doors. Is what I'm saying.
After
when did that like kind of okay? You're gonna go there. I won't finish the question. Just say what you're gonna say.
Okay. No, after a while, like that's when it started getting harder when I was like cutting on myself and stuff like that. Is because I was trying to not wear the mask all the time. But it's really hard to.
Okay, so you're really still pretty young at this point, right? You're like 13, 14.
Yeah, but that's not like it grows exponentially from that point of like 16 and being okay with, you know, dating a guy or something like that, or
yeah, okay,
you know.
So
I'm pretty sure the first time I kissed a guy, what was I, 16, 15? No. Okay, so he was a senior while we were a freshman.
Yeah, I know who it was. That's
okay.
Funny. I actually told Paige this story because I actually tied this into. I was telling Paige this story when we were on our trip because I was like, Rob McKenzie, that motherfucker, he could keep a secret. And then I was like, and then he's like, I even got to be there the first time he kissed a guy. He was like, how lucky was I? He's like, it was the most awkward fucking thing I ever had to fucking see. He's like, they're in there, they're making out. And I'm like, oh boy, geez, am I sure glad I get to be here to witness this epic fucking moment. Like, oh boy, I'm sure glad I'm the only person that gets to know about this right now. But yeah, so you're like 16 when that happened?
Yeah, I think I was 16. I mean, shit, I was a freshman, so I wasn't 16 yet.
Okay. I thought you were older than that.
No, because like he was a senior.
Okay.
So maybe I was.
Yeah, no, you would have been a freshman because he was a senior when we were freshmen. And you would not know he was bi these days.
No.
He is a fucking hardcore Coast Guard motherfucker. Which is weird because when we're I don't think people, and this is how fucking stupid Hepner is this guy pretty much openly came out and went back in and people just don't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Because he's like a war hero kind of now. Like because they don't want to acknowledge that a war hero could also suck a dick. You know, even though there's probably way more of that going on than people care to talk about.
Don't ask them how.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're out there in the fucking whatever, in the middle of nowhere, no fucking females around. And the ones that are probably getting raped, you know? So yeah, dudes are probably sucking each other's dicks out there. You find out who's really gay in jail or fucking the Marines probably, you know? But I mean, I don't think he necessarily hates himself for it. Or would deny it if anybody was like, hey, do you like dudes? But he doesn't openly wear it. He's married. He's got kids, you know? And he was I thought for a while he was straight gay because he was fucking pomade in the hair, bright purple hair, leisure suits to fucking school.
I remember the leisure suits.
And he went from being a total jock to that like in a couple years.
Yeah.
So he'd struggled with a lot of that shit too. And he kind of reverted back, you know, and he seems to be happy with what he is. It's all that matters to me because he's still a great dude. And you want to talk about a guy that gives you life lessons, man. He was a good older role model. I know a lot of people are probably like, fuck, this kid's like 18 making out 15-year-olds. Well, like he probably honestly just did it to make you feel comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, I think he did it more as like a favor. Like,
Yeah. And he was always the guy that had a way of telling you you were being a fucking idiot without being an asshole himself. You know, he'd really make you question. And he was like, he'd hang out with like everybody too, like younger kids to like older kids, to people that were older than he was, you know.
Yeah.
He was a real social butterfly. He kind of had time for everybody. Like, and one moment you could see him like playing fucking N64 with me and Tyler on a Saturday evening for absolutely no reason when he could be out partying, like, which is what we all wanted to do.
Yeah.
But he was cool enough to do it. But he was just like, I'm cool here eating burgers with the fucking freshmen, you know. And he never made us feel like little kids, I guess, you know. But he always had a way of like telling us, like, you want to be cool when you get older. Or like, you know, this is why you can't hang out with old kids, is because you're doing this dumb shit. You're being annoying right now. Like, this isn't cool. I know you think it's cool, but it's not cool. Like, and I was that guy.
Yeah.
I was the guy in that group that was always pushing the limits. Always, I would drink like a half a beer and act like I was fucking drunk so I could fucking be cool, even though I wasn't, because I couldn't choke that goddamn beer down. And when everybody would have probably accepted me a lot more if I would have just shut the fuck up and acted like myself, you know. And he had a way of being like, dude, just what are you doing, you know? And at the time, I thought he was a dick for it, but looking back, like, he wasn't. And I could get mad at him and he just wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Too. He wouldn't be like, well, fuck you, man. I'm not hanging out with you. He would just be like, whatever. And then like the next day it'd be like nothing happened, you know? Like I remember I was like really like my cousin, who's a total fucking loser, was like my biggest hero. And he'd be like, your cousin sounds like a fucking loser. And I'd be like, well, fuck you, man. I'd get all offended about it. He's like, no, these things are stupid that he's doing. And you shouldn't like look up to him for it because he's dumb. And I would just be like, I get all mad about it and like super defensive. And then he would just be like, I don't know, he didn't remember he even said it like fucking hour later, you know?
Yeah.
It was nothing to him. He would say it, set you straight. If you wanted to take his advice, it was cool. If not, fuck it. He wasn't going to stop liking you because you were being dumb.
Yeah.
You know?
I think he was definitely one of the more mature people that we knew growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And some parents hated him for it. Because they're, oh, you shouldn't be hanging out with those kids. But he's the guy that stop in a fucking snowstorm when you're walking up fucking the hill to go to school when 1,000 other seniors are hitting mud puddles on the way up.
Yeah, trying to soak you.
Yeah, he'd pull over and be like, get in, it's cold, you know, and give you a ride to wherever the fuck you were going, you know? So, but yeah, I remember hearing that story like years later. I was like, what the fuck? Like, but yeah, Rob was there finally. You could tell Rob was so happy to be able to talk about it too. Like, he's like, I've been holding this in for like 2 years. He's like, that's when he busted up the story. Oh, I was there for the first time he kissed a guy too.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, everybody who listens to that, you can think you guys are a bunch of homophobic dickheads. Because you're, you know, it was just a different time.
Oh yeah, that was the world back then. Like, or that was our world.
Mm-hmm.
Growing
and
up
like
in some small town in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, no, and I think that was pretty much the general consensus anywhere. Even though we were in a small town with bullshit like that, I mean, it was probably less of a joke there, though. You know, like if you go to the city, it was more like, oh, it's funny. You can say that and it's funny. Like you get Hebner and you get like a quarter of the population that's like, oh, you can say that because you're meant to be funny. And the other's like, no, we can just say that because it's true.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the problem is like, that's when it becomes not comedy, is when you can't tell that line, you know, and also when you realize it's actually hurting people, you know. But so anyways, so that was about the time, the junior high-ish is when you really started realizing that this was something and not just a phase or a,
yeah,
but maybe you still thought it was a problem. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it was starting to get somewhat normalized too.
I still thought like, oh, I want to be a girl because, you know, I like guys. And so that's all it is. Like, date a guy, get it out of your system.
And you won't want to be a girl anymore.
And yeah, then that's all it is. It's not like I really want to be a girl. I just want to date guys. So then like I got my driver's license. I think I was like 17 or 18. And I was dating this guy in Pendleton. And it's that wasn't it. Like that didn't stop it. Like, okay, he's sweet. We have a lot of fun together. But that doesn't stop the fact that I don't want to be called sir walking down the street. Like that's when you start realizing that like gender and sexuality are two different things. Because before that, I never really could separate the two.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I imagine I had problems up until just a few years ago because it's not my deal for me. It took a lot of it hitting mainstream, I guess, for me to understand it a bit more. That it's actually a scientifically proven thing that there's multiple genders. So I imagine that living with it is probably even more fucking frustrating or sad, and then being worried that the people that you care about are going to stop caring about you if they find this out about you.
I think that was the hardest part. Like once I realized that I wasn't like a freak and I wasn't weird and all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, I was weird, but it wasn't bad, then the hardest part really was like, okay, well then it's either.
When you come from a military family too, I think that's important. As much as I love your parents, I would be afraid to tell them, and they've handled it amazingly well, especially your dad.
Yeah.
And your mom is actually scarier than your fucking dad, and your dad is scarier than shit. Your dad's got that quiet brooding, I'm a volcano that's gonna erupt and kill you and then have a heart attack and then come back to life and then kick your ass because you made me have a heart attack kind of fucking guy. And then your mom is, I'm just gonna fuck you up and scream in your face the whole time while I do it.
Yeah.
So like, and there was your parents, I love them to death, but when I knew I needed to be on my best behavior when I was at your fucking house, like I knew the shit that flew in my house would not fly under your mom and dad's house. Like, and they were pretty, well, and it's funny because I always thought they were conservative, but they're not apparently. Your mom was like kind of like, I voted Democrat for years, but I was like, I remember when Bush was in office. She's like, yeah, but that was like 9/11 time. Everybody was everybody had a little conservative in them around that time.
Everyone got real patriotic at that point.
Yeah, she's like, but no, I voted for Clinton and went off on this big tangent. She's like, everybody just assumes because we're a military family that we're fucking conservative. We're not. But, they are very old school mentality.
Yeah.
Your mom was raised in the fucking middle of nowhere. Well, I mean, when did your grandpa move to Hardman? And that's something we share too. Both of our grandparents, we spent a time in a town that's even smaller than fucking Hebner,
like
in a ghost town where like hillbillies,
burned out town with like 50 people,
fucking hillbillies. Like we're drinking well fucking water. It's like a 300 degrees in the summertime and fucking negative 300 in the wintertime. Like, and it's like, it's desert and there's nothing there but like old fucking, it's like an old town. I mean, it's a ghost town, but people actually live there. Like 30 people live there.
If you had a big enough antenna, you might get like 3 channels if you're lucky. But if like the wind blows or a storm rolls in, you lost TV.
Yep, lost it. There's septic, no fucking sewer.
I don't remember.
My grandpa, I made this comment the other day. I was working out with my Uncle Bobby. I'm like, Grandma and Grandpa had to have septic, but I never once remember them ever having a septic tank pumped. Like, ever. Where was their shit going? Like, they had water, they had toilets and stuff. Yeah, but it would probably just roll in someplace, Jesus.
Yeah, I don't think Grandpa ever had a septic tank pumped either.
Fuck no, he didn't. Nobody has one.
Yeah. Like, the leach field, okay, you went out his back door, and there was that big field to the right-hand side. That was a leach field. So, like, I don't ever remember that thing getting pumped out.
Fuck no, they're not gonna pump a field. No, so I mean that's we even share that in common, where like we spent a lot of time in Hardman, both of us, like a lot of time.
Pile.
I'm kind of surprised that we didn't run into each other more out there because I hung out with Melissa Harshman like you guys all did. Like I'd go smoke cigarettes with Melissa Harshman at the rock pile, like you just said, or like we'd walk up Toll Rock for just miles because there's nothing else to do but just walk. I remember I left one morning and didn't come back at night just because I was walking. My grandma was like, "What the fuck? I thought you got eaten by a cougar. Like, where the fuck have you been?"
Yeah,
like,
it's not that someone's gonna pick you up. You don't have to worry about people. You have to worry about like cougars and coyotes,
rattlesnakes and shit. That was during the summertime. That was a big one. They would be like, "We're walking to the apple orchard." My grandpa would be like, "Take the shovel and listen for rattles." You know. One time, my cousin fucking swallowed like a fucking shit ton of gas because fucking he was siphoning gas out of an old car for the lawnmower and he swallowed a bunch. My grandpa just shoved his fingers down his throat, made him fucking puke, and I just threw him off to the side while he probably just tripped balls out of his fucking mind out there.
There you go. You're good now.
Yeah, no, like there was no fucking hospital. And my grandpa told me this story the other. Well, actually, this came up during the same fucking conversation because my Uncle Bobby was like, "Well, I know there's a septic tank out there because I helped put it in because I damn near got electrocuted because like they had like a cement truck out there and it was raining and I had grabbed the grounds of the wire." And she's like, "I'm lucky your fucking grandpa saw me and knew what to do because he just fucking shoulder chucked me before I could get electrocuted." He's like, "I fucking he just knocked me on my ass, fucking flew me fucking a goddamn mile away from it." Fucking he's like, "Yeah." But yeah, all kinds of shit like that. I'm sure it happened because your fucking grandpa was even crazier than mine. So I'm sure all kinds of shit like that happened out there at the fucking Melvin's place.
The one I really remember is him overloading the shotgun.
Oh, fuck.
So it was a double-barreled muzzle-loading shotgun, and I'm 13 maybe at the oldest. And he's like, "We're going to go shooting. Come on, let's go shooting." So we walk out to the field, and he's like, "I loaded this up. Pull the first trigger. Don't pull the second one." He loaded them backwards. The first trigger was his shot. The second trigger was mine.
Oh, fuck.
So I pull the first trigger and it kicks so hard. It like, I go flying back, which makes me pull the second trigger. And so I'm like laying there and the gun is like stuck in the ground 10, 15 feet behind us. I'm laying there and Grandpa's just laughing his ass off with this huge bruise all over my shoulder.
Fuck. I remember this one time my uncle, it wasn't quite as bad as that, but he had me this pistol. I can't remember what the fuck it was. But he's like, "All right, shoot that bottle." And fucking I pulled the trigger and shot it. And it was so fucking loud. We're in a canyon. I literally got like tinnitus. And I was just like, fucking, you can't. Like my uncle's laughing. He's like, "You blew the top off the bottle." And all I could see was his lips moving and see him laughing. And he like grabs my arm. He's like, "Whoa, whoa," like, because I'm like waving the gun around. Safety's fucking off. There's 4 more. He's like, "You want to shoot it again?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm good." He's like, "Well, you hit that fucking thing." "Oh, yeah." He's like, "We know you can shoot. But next time, be prepared." Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other shit that happened out there that was just nuts. Oh, my grandma pulled a shotgun on Merlin Stone. Did you ever have any run-ins with Stoney out there?
No.
Stoney lived above us. He was a fucking pedophile and a fucking weirdo.
I had heard of him.
Yeah, he used to ride around on a white horse all the time.
Yeah, I heard about some things about him, that horse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you've heard about Stoney. But he one time stalked my cousins where they were sleeping. He came down and creeped it down to their house. My fucking grandpa chased him out of the fucking yard with a hatchet. He's the last person my grandpa ever punched in the fucking face too, because fucking he came down and my grandpa got a floodlight right when they first were real popular because of Stoney was creeping around the fucking house. So my grandpa got these floodlights. So if anybody got too close to the house, the fucking lights would turn on. Mm-hmm. And Stoney would get all like, "Oh, well, fuck," you know, like, those are disturbing my horses or whatever. You know, my grandpa's like, too fucking bad. Like, they're up because you're a fucking creep. And he fucking got mouthy with my grandpa. My grandpa was like, Merlin, I'm gonna tell you this one fucking time. You need to get the fuck off my porch, or I'm gonna fucking clock you in the mouth. Fuck you, you fat piece of shit. My grandpa fucking clocked him. Fucking went off because like my grandparents' porch was pretty high off the goddamn ground. Fell off the fucking ground. My grandma told the story better because I wasn't actually there. I was there when my grandma pulled the shotgun on Stoney, but I wasn't there. And he wanted to use the phone. He wouldn't stop coming over. My grandpa wasn't home. Finally, my grandma was like, Bob's not here right now, and I'm not comfortable with this. Please don't come back. And he came back again, and she just opened up the door with the shotgun to his face and was like, I'm not telling you again, Merlin. And then, but yeah, my grandpa was like, no, I actually hit him twice too. And the second time was after he was nice. Grandpa felt real bad, so he helped him get back on his horse. And then he got off and started talking shit again. So Grandpa popped him another one in the mouth, put him back on his horse, and sent him home.
God.
Yeah, it was a fucking no man's land out there, man. Fucking one time, fucking Thanksgiving, there was a meth lab right across from my grandparents' house. And my mom knew the people, and my grandpa was a drug counselor at the time. And it's funny though, my grandma was like, I'm gonna call Randy. And like my grandma and my aunt were like gossiping fucking people. Like, we're gonna call Randy Rayburn and tell him what's going on out here. And my grandpa's like, don't. I don't want to fucking deal with it. They're just going to send them to me. They're not going to learn anything. Like, he just was like, don't ruin our Thanksgiving. I don't want to deal with the cops.
Yeah.
Like, my grandpa, even though he was a fucking drug counselor, still hated cops. Don't bring the cops up in this house. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess. I don't know. There's not much else. I guess it just sucked being trans and
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
No, a lot of years after that were a blur.
Do you think you might have blocked some of that stuff out?
I'm sure.
You think, but you think that might be why some of your memory shit is because those times were.
It very well could be.
Yeah.
My memory's still shit though, so.
Yeah, but I feel like maybe, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's hard to say why somebody is a certain way, especially when it comes to memory. But I just wonder if maybe you're just so fucking miserable then that you blocked a lot of it out.
Yeah, because like, I don't know. Sometimes you think back in hindsight and you're like, those are the good old days. And then you remember like,
yeah,
those really weren't the good old days.
Dude, even I have that, where I'm like, God, I wish I could go back. And then I remember how shitty things were.
Yeah.
And I remember that there was a reason I wanted to be an adult very badly. And it was because I wanted to get away from things that were hurting me at that time, whether it be just the ruthless fucking meanness of just being in high school. I'm sure it's bad everywhere, but I feel like it's particularly bad in a small town. Especially, I mean, in all small towns pretty much are kind of fairly conservative and fairly roughneck, I think. There's not a lot of like super gay community small towns. There are a few. There's one in Arkansas, surprisingly enough, that's been a very gay community in this small community for forever. And everybody's kind of known it was a safe haven since like the 50s. It's named called Eureka Springs. It's a really cool town. It's not really even just strictly a gay town, it's like they call it the place where the misfits fit. I used to play there. I have a good friend named Gina Galena that's like that. And but yeah, it was known very well to be gay friendly town. But it's pretty small.
That's cool.
It's got a lot of other weird past too. There's like one of the most haunted places there, like on the planet, is there too. It's an old mental hospital, I think. So there's a few other things. There's some Native American lore around there. A lot of weird vortex shit because it's so high in the Ozark Mountains. It's a really, really cool place though. Like it's got a really cool vibe when you go into it, but it's kind of got a bit of a dark feel. But it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's one of the most unique places I've ever been, But
crazy.
But most towns are not like that, you know? So I feel like when you grow up different in any way in a smaller town, it's hard because there's like less people to relate to, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
but I mean, come to find out, like once you get out of that small town, once we've been separated for it for years, that there's a lot of us. Like there's a lot of weird fucking people in that town, and they just nobody said anything
Yeah.
because we were all kind of like keeping it under wraps. But
I don't know, man. I feel like we're all pretty open, unless somebody came out to you because they felt comfortable. You know, I feel like it was just all our own crew that was weird, you know, and we all hung out. Like, I feel like there's people that were okay with us and people that were us, and then people that were not okay with us. And there wasn't really much more.
Come to find out that there's like people from Hetner that were also drag queens when I was doing the drag.
Oh, yeah. They were quite a bit younger.
Yeah. Stuff like that. People who were completely gay and just put on a good heterosexual face while they were living in Hetner. And then
there is a couple, actually, you're right. There's a kid that's a couple years younger than us that just, you know, a lot of those people lived with the same thing you did, and their families had more clout than yours.
Yeah.
Like your mom was a cop and your dad was a trucker, but they weren't like pillars of the community. I mean, your mom kind of was in a sense, but she wasn't like, I don't know, your mom never rubbed elbows with the fucking city council, or,
yeah,
you know,
she was no bigwig.
Yeah, she didn't walk around in a suit, you know, she didn't own a business. I mean, well, they owned Bud's Pub for a while, but that was fucking probably made him relate more to the misfits in the town than anything. But I mean, and your mom was raised by fucking Melvin Hammonds, dude. So like, yeah, she was a wild child. Her sister's Glow, you know, and then you guys had Beth, man, and Beth was hard on your family.
Yeah,
like Beth was
rough.
Yeah, I imagine that whole thing was probably really fucking hard on you too. Like, Beth was your 16-year-old cousin that passed away in a drunk driving accident. Like, that still to this day was the worst fucking funeral I've ever been to in my life. Like, I go to that grave sometimes when I have my kid or my fucking mom's kids with me to remind them, like, that your actions sometimes have consequences, you know. And I'm like, this girl was bright, like, she was super cool, like, she had a great future ahead of her, but she also was probably into some bad things, and this is what happened. And no parent should ever have to deal with what your Aunt Glow did.
Yeah,
you know. And you guys are really tight too, and she's one of the few people that really, I felt, accepted you as you from a very young age. Like, she didn't care that you were nerdy. She would always make you feel cool, you know, always made you feel like an equal, kind of, and that she wasn't judging you because you were younger than her or weird, you know. And she was always brave enough to be weird, and that's what made her cool.
Yeah.
You know. And yeah, man, there's every time I go to the cemetery, even now that I've got my own family up there, I always drive past that grave and like wonder what Beth would have done, you know. And sadly though, it would have either went one of two ways, you know. She would have either did something really, really cool with herself, or she would have went down a road that took her to a very bad place, I think, you know. Just because she wasn't on a good road. She was doing a lot of bad things for like a 16-year-old girl, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I figured she either would have gotten out and done something. It might not have changed the world, but she could have made a good life for herself.
Exactly.
Or she would have stayed in town and had a whole lot of children, and maybe I don't know, maybe things would go well, maybe things wouldn't, but yeah, she would either end up perpetuating the cycle of Hetner or getting out and not. But
yeah,
I don't know. I always thought she was off to do something, you know.
I always felt like she was too bright for Hetner.
Yeah.
is I think even, you know, when she was alive, I was just like, God, she's way too cool for this town. I remember one of the last fucking conversations I ever had with her. She fucking pulled out a fucking box of wine out of her backpack in the middle of City Park. And I was a freshman and she was a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, oh no, I was in 8th grade and she was a sophomore because it was probably about 6 months before she got in the wreck. And fucking, I remember about shitting my fucking pants because she's just right in the middle of City Park in broad daylight with with some wine she stole from your Aunt Glow, and she's just drinking on it. She's like, "Do you guys want some of this?" And I'm like, looking down the street, and she's just like, fucking starts laughing.
Hell.
She's like, "Aaron, that's what you're gonna get us caught because you're acting like we're doing something wrong." Like she was just dying laughing because she's like, "Look at Aaron being all sketch and shit."
Oh yeah, I think that was like the first time I ever smoked weed was with her.
Yeah.
I have a pop can like all crinkled up and shit like that in the backyard.
Yeah, she was cool, man. But yeah, I use her as an example, man. I feel like she probably would want me to, you know, like just because, like, and I know it didn't even do us any good.
Right.
Really. You know, it really didn't. Like she should have been a shining example. I mean, I guess we lived through it, and I think, to be honest, I think that situation really put a lot of pressure on the parents in town, and it kind of shifted the momentum because there was a lot of kids doing fucked up shit. And I think a lot of kids at that point in time saw that and it changed them. And I think the cops were like under a lot of pressure because like, what the fuck? These kids are out in these back roads just fucking doing drugs and fucking getting shit faced and driving around all crazy. Like we can't have this, you know, because that's about the time they started the process of getting rid of the city cops and bringing in the counties. And that's when shit really changed. Like, fuck, me and AJ Hendricks couldn't even fight without people getting fucking notified about it. And then people showing up on Slaughterhouse, which is out of town. Like the cops show up on Slaughterhouse. We couldn't even have a fist fight out there without the cops showing up. So that's part of the reason why. But I think that partially probably saved our asses because the things that were accessible to Beth's generation was not as accessible to us. The cops had stopped that, you know. I mean, like there was kids doing meth like in 8th grade, you know, back in that time.
Yeah.
And there was like, I remember there's this girl that lived behind the mortuary that used to fucking hook herself out to other high school kids. Like it was a really dark time for some reason.
Damn.
Well, it was like meth was originally, that's right around the time where good meth started becoming a problem. Like before that, it was like a different kind of meth. And when it hit Abner, it hit the kids hard. You know, like that was like Ryan Pettyjohn and Elliot Strauss and Aaliyah and all of them, you know, those kids were doing fucking crazy shit. And I think that generation fucked it up for the rest of us, probably in the best way.
Yeah, probably for our benefit.
Yeah.
Because we were smoking some diesel weed or some.
Oh, yeah, we're just smoking shitty weed, fucking or drinking beer or fucking cheering on.
Yeah, trying to find someone to buy us a cube of Coors Light.
Yeah, nobody would buy us anything. You were the cops kid. My mom was the bartender, like fucking and the drug dealer. So like they're like, I'm not gonna go tell your mom to give me drugs so I can bring it back to you. Just steal them from her dresser drawer and sell them to me for cheaper, you dick. You know, like so.
Well, everyone thought I was a snitch.
Yeah, everybody thought you were a snitch, and I was saying I was a snitch, but yeah, you're the fucking dude. I was more of a snitch just by talking. You know, I would never narc somebody out intentionally, but like just because I'd fucking brag, like, oh, I just bought this ain't the weed from so and so, and I'm so fucking cool now. There, you know, when it wasn't even an eighth, it was like $5 worth, but I paid 20 for it. You know, so I got fucking ripped the fuck off. You know, but yeah, man, times are hard then, man. I mean, and can you imagine what it was like for our parents, though? You know. At least shit was kind of coming around then. Like it was becoming knowledge that this was a deal. And being gay at least was being more acceptable, you know?
Yeah, I mean, thank God we weren't around back then. That's some getting drugged behind a truck shit.
Mhm.
Like I say, getting drugged behind a truck, but that's literally some
No,
getting
and,
drugged behind
and
a
my
truck
aunt,
shit.
my aunt is one of those old lesbians that we were talking about earlier. And she was like a lesbian in like the 60s. And she had to do the whole like, this is my roommate thing forever, you know? And she's like, well, she came to one of my shows in Portland and she's like, huh. She's like, back in 1974 or something like that. She's like, I was walking with your Aunt Sherry over there and we were holding hands and somebody threw a beer bottle at me and broke it over my head, just all calmly. Like, I was like, oh, okay, Aunt Doris, that's fucked up. Like I get all mad about it, but to her, it's just a casual story about being a lesbian in the 70s. She got somebody fucking threw a beer bottle at her and broke it over her head. She's the sweetest fucking lady in the world. She's always been, you know? And she probably was like, God bless you. I hope you're fucking find it in your heart to fucking not be an asshole someday. You know, that's how she is, you know?
Well, shit, even when I was in Portland, just walking from the bar to my car, holding hands with my girlfriend at the time, and people yelling shit from cars, throwing shit at you.
Right. It doesn't surprise me. It's still probably like that in some places. You get the wrong ditch. And the one thing people like to ignore about Portland, it's got one of the biggest Nazi fucking. There's a huge Nazi problem in Portland, and all around there, and all those areas, there's like all these little towns around Portland where they really thrive. They're like where they think they're hillbilly, but they're not hillbilly enough to actually come over here and be real fucking hillbillies, you know, but they all play hillbilly, you know? So there's like all these little towns that are around Portland that are like fucking half hour from Portland and shit.
Yeah.
And these guys think they're fucking rednecks, but some of them start to get real serious about it, start building compounds and shit, you know, and flying their Nazi flags. And there's a big another one too. I mean, Eugene is a very well known, like liberal accepting town as well. But you hop the fucking freeway over to, and that's literally it. You can be it literally turns from Eugene to Springfield. And Springfield is fucking, there's a huge Nazi problem in Springfield. Like, it's just, I mean, it just tells you fucking it's everywhere. But they want to sweep the shit under the rug because they want Oregon to be known as like this big fucking liberal fucking accepting fucking blue state and then it just goes with how they ignore this whole side of the state as well. You know, this is our side of the state takes up the majority of it, you know. It's not the population, but it's the majority of the mass, you know.
And people over here, like this area reminds me more of Texas than of Oregon.
Or I would say Idaho is probably more accurate, but it does look a little like Texas. But it doesn't quite have that whole Texas mentality, but it's definitely got the Idaho mentality, you know. And it's same with Washington. The east side of Washington is the same way. But we'll get out of the bathtub.
Yeah, and I don't know. That was something that was real jarring. Was like going from the gay bar in Portland. I used to go to Embers. So back before I was out permanently, I was just a drag queen because I was like, okay, I'll get this out of my spare time. You know, I'll just dress up. I'll be real cute. I'll get on stage. I'll do my thing, and then I'll go back to like the rest of my life. And well, like I'm terrible at performing. Like I just don't have the performance mentality, I guess. And so I did it a couple times, but then you'd leave. Excuse me, goddamn. I'd leave, and then immediately outside the gay bars when you get like accosted, like Proud Boys and neo-Nazis and shit like that, like just cruising past the gay bar. So you go from like, this place feels like home to like rednecks and trucks throwing shit at you.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, there's a lot of loggers over that way too, you know, and not to stereotype every logger, that's not real fair either, but you know, it just shows there's assholes everywhere and there's good people everywhere. I mean, there's good, like Austin's a super liberal town in Texas, you know. So But you know, I don't think too many people have a problem being gay in Austin, at least any more so than in Portland, you know. But, so when you started really considering it, what was the boiling point where you were like, I'm done, I'm gonna, oh, that ain't gonna help with it, getting that started. Thanks. So I just need a new lighter. I was just saying. If when were you like, all right, I'm just doing this, like I've paid long enough, like
It was like, okay, so I started like drinking all the time, and I was just an asshole. I was angry all the time, and I was mad, and I was just spiraling, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I was just drunk all the time. If I wasn't drunk, I was stoned.
did you know you were masking the fact that you were trans, or were you like, did you have to come to this realization that you were just like trying to maybe you were just trying to like not be depressed, like when, or were you very well aware that it was because you were trans?
No, I knew, because like at that point, I had lived in Portland for a while, and I did the drag queen thing, and then I came out in Portland, and I was just out in Portland all the time. And then when I had to move back here, I went back in the closet, and so I packed up all my.
Okay, so you came out as trans completely in Portland, like that's just how you were?
Yes.
Like every day?
Every day.
Okay. I think you told me that once, and I kind of forgot until just now that you kind of came out and did it.
And like it was okay. Like nobody gave a shit.
Did anybody know that you were doing that? Because I didn't have any idea until you told me that you were doing that.
No, because then when like my parents would come to town and stuff like that, I would take all my clothes and throw them to the back of the closet.
Yeah.
And pull out like the bag of clothes that was back there that had like all of my big baggy jeans and t-shirts and boxer shorts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I would like swap my closet real quick, and then I would hang out with my parents and like people from town, from Hefner and stuff like that. And then when they would leave, then I would go back, swap my closet out again for all my good clothes, my cute clothes. So I did that for a long time. And then when I moved back here.
Well, when you were, because you were with Sarah there too, were you doing that when you were with Sarah?
Yeah, she knew.
So she knew?
Yeah, she didn't care.
Okay.
Well, I mean, she cared, but she knew before we even moved in together.
Oh.
Like I was living in Klamath Falls, and I was trying to come out, and that was when my mom was like, oh, that's not a thing.
Okay. That makes sense then, because you did move to Portland after Klamath Falls to go to school. Correct?
Yes, because I was going to go to school in Klamath Falls, but then that school, the
tech school.
Oh God, yeah. How was it? Oregon Institute of Technology had like a department, had a section up in Portland. So I was like, okay, well, I can move to Portland. I can come out full time. Like I can just, I can go to school, and
all a plan to do that then.
So that was the plan for Portland. Well then,
shit. So you fucking, that sucks, because you were almost there. You were at the finish line, and then you went back in for a while.
Yeah. Well then, when I moved back here, is when I went back in the closet, and I was back in the closet. Like, okay, I've got it out of my system. Like, that was my reasoning. Was like, I've got it out of my system. Like, time to have a normal life. We'll have a normal family life.
Okay.
And I don't even remember how many years that was.
Fuck, a lot, dude.
Like 6, 7, 8 years, something like that.
Probably closer to 10, man.
So we'll call
because when did you move back here? You moved back here 2011, 2010. You moved back here on the same time I did. No, you came back here the same time I got off tour for my first tour, which I went on my first tour in 2009. So you probably came back here in 2009.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, and then you told me about what, 2018, maybe 2019?
No,
it was earlier than that.
It was like 2000. Well, okay, well, I started on my hormones in 2017.
Okay. So I guess it was
So
more time. I guess you've been out more time than I thought is probably what's going on. But the fuck that, I mean, for me, I feel like that would just fucking drive me nuts, dude. Like to have something that, and it's not even to just have something. That's so I can't even really relate to it. But I know that if I wanted something so badly my whole life and I got it for a couple years and then had it taken away from me, and it was something that I knew I should just have all the time, and it got taken away from me for some reason, I would be so fucking pissed and so angry and so fucking down and depressed. Like, and it's not even being like who I am. It's not even something that's who I am. It'd just be like something that I wanted, or thought I deserved,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I mean, yeah, it bothered me, and at the very end, like it almost ended me. Like,
yeah.
But in the beginning,
well, wait, how do you mean? Were you like suicidal, or
I was probably gonna,
or just self-destructive?
Yeah, drink myself to an early grave. But really, I had spent so long like in the closet, like wearing that mask, that putting it back on didn't seem like that big a deal. Like I've done this. I've been doing this for years. Like I just got to do it a little longer. But then, yeah, it got to the point where I was angry all the time. I was mad at everybody. Everything pissed me off. I was just grumpy. I was drunk all the time. I started drinking at work. Started drinking like all day, every day.
Yeah, you were drinking like really like bum beer too. I was a bit concerned because you'd be like, I just had a 40. I'm like, we're like fucking pushing 30. Like, what are you drinking 40s for?
Yeah.
Like, come on, we're not kids anymore. But I was like, whatever, teach their own.
That's all I could afford at the time. It's not like I could afford good booze.
Yeah, I could see that.
But
I mean, but that's a sign. If I can't afford good booze, I don't drink booze, know? So that was what was the alarm for me. I thought something was wrong there. I would have never guessed that it was that, because I was just like, and I should probably like looking, if I knew what I knew now about how the world works and how this all works, it would make perfect sense to me, because I knew you were doing drag down in Portland. I knew that was a side of you at one point in time, so it would make more sense to me. But then I was a little younger, it wasn't as normalized, and at that point in time I was very in my own world anyways, so I was like, whatever, people can do what they want to do, it doesn't, maybe when I'm triggered that you were doing that because you were depressed, but maybe just getting a little out of hand with drinking, maybe, would have been more of my thing, but more my first go-to. But so I think I asked this already, but I'm gonna ask it again because I'm a fucking idiot and I can't remember if I asked it or not. But I'm gonna run your fucking lighter dead too. Getting fucking sage all over me and ash all over me, and I don't care. Like a fat guy eating fucking Cheetos. So when you're going through this though, did you like know like that was the reason you were fucking pissed off at the world and upset, or did you just think you just were?
I just thought the world sucked.
Okay.
I just hated everybody.
So was there a moment like in general where you were like, this is because this was such a part of me and it's not a part of me anymore?
There was actually it was a documentary that came on, and it's one that I'd seen before. Excuse me.
Is the sage getting to you?
No, I got something going on. So this documentary came on, and it was about like trans women specifically. It was about like 3 different trans women and like their struggle and following them through their lives and stuff like that. And I'd seen it before, and it just came on, and I was like, and I was drunk. I was super drunk, and I'm sitting at my computer. And I'm looking over the TV, watching it, and then it just kind of hit me that like, this is why I'm so fucking mad. This is why I hate everybody. Why I'm mad all the time. All I want to do is sit at home and be left alone and drink and stuff like that. Is like, I had that. And then.
So did you identify as trans before that moment, or did you just identify as like somebody who liked to dress up?
No, like when I was living in Portland, actually, but when I was living in Klamath Falls, then I had done some research. Like I knew that transgender was a name, you know, it was a label, a title, it was a thing, and that it was normal and it's not okay, or it's not weird, it's not. So
Okay.
yeah, I was living in Klamath Falls, and I realized that it was a thing. It was a thing you could do. And after being told that that's not a thing that you can do, like just be happy with who you are. So that's when I really started pushing. And that was the start of it. Was when did we move to Klamath Falls? Like 2005?
Probably, yeah. It was a couple of years after we got out of high school.
That was when I was like, okay, I'm doing this. Like, you know, it's the new millennium.
Yeah.
Everyone's progressive. This will be okay. And it was not okay.
Yeah, not in Klamath Falls, man.
It's just nothing but emo kids and rednecks. That's all Klamath Falls was.
Yeah, at that time.
Yeah.
There's so many emo kids everywhere at that time. Like, I didn't even get emo. Like, I was like, whatever, you fucking dumb shits. I get emo more now than I did then. You know,
we were goth long before emo was a thing.
I wasn't even goth. I was like so fucking. I would have probably been like punk rock if there was actual punk rock in fucking Hefner. That was the closest thing to a punker, I think. So I had my hair cut like a punker, but instead of listening to like real punk rock, I listened to skater punk or grunge or Korn. You know, like, but I never wore a lot of makeup. Like I was never that kind of punk, you know, this was goth punk, but I was probably closer to a punk than anything.
Yeah.
You guys are all goth. I mean, I had to wear Jinkos and shit, but punks wear Jinkos back then
love
too.
Jinkos. I would wear Jinkos to this day.
They brought them back for a minute, but I'm too fat for them now. I'm too fat for the baggy pants from when we were kids.
I had a pair that were 38 around the waist and 38 around the ankle.
That's fucking hilarious.
And I miss Jinkos.
Dude, so man, they're kind of coming back. The 90s style's here, dude. That's like, it's what I'd love watching my kid grow up, because all the shit that I thought was cool, she thinks it's cool now. You know, it's like I got the sweet spot of being a parent where what I like my kid likes, you know. Yeah. So it's like a lot of fucking.
Not what happened when we grew up.
No, fuck no. I just took my kid to see the Circle Jerks, and we went and saw Kurt Cobain's house where he committed suicide, and like fucking took her to Jimi Hendrix's grave, and went to the Seattle Music Project. It was like, yeah, dude, like it was so fucking rad, man. Awesome. Yeah, like I'm still probably a hard ass, you know, but we get to do cool shit, you know. My mom would have never taken me to see a band called the Circle Jerks. You know. But that band, ironically, is from the 70s. They're like an old OG punk band, you know. So, but yeah, that's a picture of her right there in front of the Kurt Cobain house. Yeah. Her fucking Misfit shirt on, her funny colored hair.
Didn't you post that one?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I posted that. And I had to print it off too. She made me that art right there too. Mm-hmm. When I got my knee done, and she went, "This is because you didn't die and stuff." So she said. She kind of reminds me of you, actually. She really does. Like, she reminds me of a little Lexi. Because fucking, she just has that attitude like you did. Because you would have done something like that for me if I would have had knee surgery in 4th grade. Like, it probably wouldn't have been like, you probably would have brought me like something like food, or I don't know, like a fucking 2 liter of Mountain Dew is probably what you would have brought me, and not a piece of art. You're like, this is because you didn't die and stuff. That was how we showed love, is through food, weed, and music. You probably would have brought me a burnt CD.
Yeah, it definitely would have been a burnt CD.
Yeah, burnt CD and probably a 2 liter of Mountain Dew or something, half case, you know. Yeah, that's probably what would have happened. But you totally would have been like, this is because you didn't die and stuff. You would have said those exact words probably to me. But yeah, she says this shit sometimes, or I'm always like, that's something Lexi would have said when she was that age.
That's funny.
But yeah, man, it's pretty cool being a parent. I got lucky anyways, because like I said, a lot of the shit that I like, she likes. It's cool to her. It rarely happens, you know. I don't think she likes a lot of the music that I actually am involved in, but I think she likes like the artwork and the whole scene side of it. Like she likes that it's got that punk rock mentality, even though she doesn't quite like it yet because it's like kind of country-ish, you know. But she likes it. She's gonna have fond memories of going to Ruckus in the boonies when she was like 5. So, well, let me ask you some questions that are harder ones. And like I said, these are ones that you might want to just be like, pass, because I don't want to get fucking slaughtered by the trans community, you know. And we'll start with that. Like, do you feel like with transgender being a little more regular, like not regular, I guess, but being a little more normalized, do you feel like there's anything that's like counterproductive to that? Like, do you feel like it being more of like, it's almost like it's got a place in pop culture now, you know? I guess is what. She's never made that noise ever. That was funny. How do you feel about that? Because I think as being a straight cis, how do you say it? Cis or cis?
Cis.
Cis?
CIS.
Okay, cis. Cis is like a sore.
Yeah.
I always get it mixed up, and Claire always busts my balls for it because she's like, it's not a sore, it's a cis. But being like a straight cis male, like I might have some opinions on that maybe considered transphobic that I don't feel are transphobic, but maybe if I set them online or set them in the wrong context, they could be taken that way. So I'm wondering, from a trans woman's point of view, if you feel any of those things from your side of things. Like, is any of that stuff make it harder for you in the long run? Or like, is any of it, do you feel like that's kind of toxic to the cause?
Well, I know a lot of like, especially trans women. I'm sure it is the same for trans men, but I can't speak for trans men. We compare ourselves to each other and to cis women constantly, and just be you. Like that's one of the hardest things to learn when you're transitioning, is that you're doing it to be happy. So just be you. Just do you. Don't do someone else.
Okay.
Don't try and be someone else, because the whole goal of the journey is to be yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like I guess I feel like in some cases there's a lot of expectation in the big view of the trans community or the outside looking in, you know, because you hear stories like I was telling you earlier about like that trans lady that committed suicide for a bunch of people. And this is not the whole trans community, but a whole heck of a lot of them kind of really tortured this trans lady, and she ended up fucking killing herself because she stood up for Dave Chappelle, because of that whole, you know, a lot of those people thought he was, you know, the shit he was saying was transphobic, it shouldn't be acceptable, cancel culture, yada yada yada. You know, I feel like trans stuff is a big part of the cancel culture, you know, as well.
Well, like you need to get out of your own way and quit comparing yourself to others, but you need to get out of other people's way and quit. I don't know if I really don't know where I'm going with this. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank at the moment.
And I think, I don't know, I might have confused you with the question, because I'm trying to like pussyfoot around it a bit, you know, because I don't want people to think, you know, I'm transphobic because maybe I share some of these views. Like, but I'll just come out and say it, because this is the whole point of this interview. There's one thing I feel like maybe they should ease up a bit, because maybe when things get tough and everybody gets really worked up about somebody saying something homophobic or transphobic, and that person gets attacked, it causes like a big hoopla, when maybe being like a little more, I guess I've never learned anything by having somebody attack me.
Yeah.
Is what I'm kind of getting at, you know, and I can understand why people would be upset and why people would want to say something and set somebody straight. And I can understand why somebody would be pissed. But is there a point where maybe you wish that would calm down a little bit? So like, because I feel like having a normal conversation like we are right now would solve a lot more of these issues than getting online and saying a bunch of things. Because essentially I feel like I was kind of saying earlier, like maybe, and this is probably going to be where I catch some heat if anybody listens to this that gives a shit, you know, maybe the people that were being bullied are becoming the bullies in some cases.
I can definitely see that.
Like, because like I was saying, that lady, you know, those people, and I guess I shouldn't say those people, that's kind of a fucked up way to say it, you know, but like, she was trans and other trans people treated her so poorly for just essentially just going against what they were saying or disagreeing with them, that she ended up committing suicide. And I'm sure there's more to that. If somebody commits suicide over people online bullying them, there's a lot of issues there, you know, but it was the thing that literally pushed her off a building, you know.
Yeah, that could have been what the straw that broke the camel's back.
And that was the follow-up. Like, so what had happened is Dave Chappelle did that fucking that special where he said a bunch of fucking stupid shit about the trans community. It pissed a lot of people off.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, cancel him. They were fucking kick Dave Chappelle off of Netflix, blah, 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 which I don't agree with that shit anyways. I don't think it's going to fix anything. You can't fucking fix something by shoving it into a closet. Like, and I feel like that fucking, that those people, you know, the people that live that kind of life or that have lived with that should know that, you know, that you can't make something go away by hiding it. Because how many people have been in that situation where they just wanted that to go away? You know, you shouldn't want it to go away. I mean, with some of that, you should just want it to go away, but it's not. The point is, it's not going to by just trying to make it disappear. It's not going to disappear, you know. I'd rather have it out in the open so I know who I want to fucking stay the fuck away from myself, you know.
Yeah.
But so they did that. And this Dave Chappelle had let this lady open for him in San Francisco, and they became really good friends. And she was like, hey, he's not fucking really transphobic. He's a fucking stand-up comedian and he's a friend of mine. And I'm trans. And I've opened up shows for him. I've spent time with him. Like we're really good friends. Like, he's not transphobic. And they fucking let her have it. And that was enough to make her fucking commit suicide.
Well, I know there's a lot of that all over the internet. Like, I don't know if the trans community or the LGBTQ community is worse or more accepting or less accepting, especially when it comes on the internet, because I mean, you hear a lot of shit from everyone, everywhere. But I don't think anyone should be pushed to that point, to be bullied and constantly harassed by people to the point that that's what pushes them over the edge, literally and or metaphorically. And I know that in the LGBTQ community, there's a lot of push for acceptance, and everyone, you just be the way you are, and everyone will be happy, and everyone just be accepting. But there's a lot of pressure there too. Like, when you post things online, I'll read things 3 or 4 times, like, okay, did I include the proper pronouns? Did I make reference to something that could be seen as offensive and stuff like that, even within my own community?
Do you think, man, that's like a lot of stress, man? Like, and
that's why
I feel like
typically don't post or anything.
That sucks, because then it's like, okay, so like, you've lived your whole life trying to appease other people by not being who you are. But now that you are who you are, you have to be careful not to fucking piss off the people that are like, that should understand you the most, I guess, you know?
And a lot of it is like, they could be very sensitive from where they are. I know there for a while, I was extremely sensitive.
Yeah, I imagine once you fucking strap your boots on, it's time to go to war, you know, for a minute. Like,
yeah, because when I first came out and publicly and like changed my profile and told the world, like, hey, this is who I am now. You can either like it or just don't talk to me. Just leave me alone. Like, doesn't matter if you're family or friends. You either, excuse me, you either accept me for who I am or go away. And so I know I became very sensitive after that.
okay.
So
I imagine when people are like that, and that's probably a lot of what's going on. I mean, I think with time it'll cool down, you know, but my big thing is like, God, it's stressful even for me. Like, I work in the mental health industry and my company is very liberal, which, I mean, I hate to politicize it, but since my company is very liberal, they're very like, here's another cultural competency training. And I'm like, and I hate to pull this card all the time, but I like literally tell I told my therapist, I'm like, one of my best friend is trans. I just want to work. I don't need another cultural competency training because all it's doing is pissing me off. Yeah. Like, I know how to be, like, I get it. Like, we need to be more accepting. I fucking get it. But like, I'm under a fucking deadline. Like, and I have to stop in the middle of my workday to take and seriously, these trainings come like 2 times a month. For an hour, I have to stop. And I'm like, I can only hear this shit so many fucking times before I stop giving a shit. Then it becomes counter fucking productive. Yeah. You know, like, teach these fucking things once a year. Make it very apparent that we don't accept transphobic shit in our company. Make it very apparent that if our clients are trans, that we respect their fucking pronouns. Like, you have to like kind of fucking beat it in, because we got a lot of old people that work for us, you know, and we have to let them know what's up, but we don't need to do it every fucking week, because then it becomes counterproductive. And then the people that it's going to harm most are not people like me who are naturally accepting of the shit or have friends. So, but it's going to essentially make, like, you know, old man fucking Neil that fucking did fucking 2 tours of duty in Nam. That's great with our residents, but super conservative. But I don't give a fuck because he's one of my most loyal fucking goddamn workers, and he doesn't bring that shit to work. The residents love him just the same, trans, gay, not, you know, because he has his opinions, but he keeps it in his head. He doesn't hate them. He might think some of the shit they do is wrong, but he doesn't fucking spit in their food, doesn't treat them any differently because they might be gay. No, because he's compassionate. He just fucking politically doesn't fucking agree. But that's the guy you're gonna fucking push over the edge. When if you were having a conversation with him like we are, you could probably change his fucking mind. But when you're making him attend a class or you're in his fucking face about it, slapping him in the fucking face about it, you're just going to make him go the other way, because nobody likes to be told what to do. Nobody likes to be told they're fucking wrong. You know, if you're going to teach somebody that they're doing something wrong, it was just like we were talking about dude from high school. You know, he never fucking was like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. He'd be like, hey, you're wrong. And he'd be like, if I argued, he'd be like, okay, you know, like that was it. You know, you don't teach people, in my opinion, because like I've never learned anything from anybody. And
the harder you try and convince people that they're wrong, the harder they're going to dig their feet in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that goes with me. Like, man, I had this coming of age moment when I moved to Seattle and had to come to the realization that being raised in Hebner made me racist. Like, I didn't know I was racist, didn't think I was racist, but I was fucking racist.
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
I was biased as shit because I was just in it, and it wasn't intentional. I didn't look at a black person and be like, I hate you. But I wasn't raised in the city, and maybe the way that some black people talked to me made me think that they were threatening me, and I would say stupid shit to them, you know, or this or that. And I just wasn't introduced to minorities, Hispanics, more so than blacks, you know, but we have farms around here. But even then, we didn't see a lot of those till we went to the alternative school, you know, so. But I mean, I had to come to the realization that I was in fact racist, you know. But I came to this realization not because these guys, not because I would yell at them and they would be like, "Whoa, man, hey, what are you doing yelling at me like that for?" Because they were already kind of yelling at me, you know. But I came to this realization because this sweet black girl named Tawny probably saved me from getting my ass kicked when I was working at a 7-Eleven in the ghetto of fucking Seattle. And she was like, "Hey, man, what are you doing talking to people like that for?" I'm like, "He was talking to me like that." She's like, "It's just how he talks." And I'm like, huh. And at that moment, it just clicked, you know? And then, like, I realized that I was doing that to more people than I thought. And her boyfriend was one of them. And her fucking boyfriends. And I also learned how racist cops really are in the city. Because I realized then that you wanted to treat those people better than you treated the cops. Because they were going to show up to have your back fucking quicker than the cops would. You know? So, like, they would come in and get free Slurpees and just kind of walk out. And I'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And they'd be like, "What?" You know, Tawny or Lisa, who was actually my boss, they let us do it. And I'd be like, "Huh." So I'd be like, "Well, no, I'm not letting you do that." But soon enough, I was, sure enough, you know, because just is, you know. But, you know, it's
I think that's something is we, especially like going back to the online thing, we all just need to realize that there's another person. Like, that's a person you're talking to.
On both sides of it too, you know, not just, you know,
like when you're harassing somebody, when you're find out the location of their IP address so you can harass them in their house or at their house and stuff like that. Like when you're swatting somebody and sending the police to their house and stuff like that because you found out their address and you go stalking people. Like, that's a person. That's not just a random face on the TV or a image and name on an image and name on the computer. Like,
yeah. And then also, you gotta realize, like, if you're in that room with that person, you see their eyes, you hear them breathe, you hear them talk, you see them flesh and blood in front of you. It makes you more, it humanizes them, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's a celebrity on Facebook. Everybody's fucking entitled. Everybody's smart. You know, when you're talking to somebody, you realize you're humble. You know, and some of these issues could at least go to agree to disagree without being a huge deal. If I think people just talked about shit, and I think a good example of that is this Olympic, or was it the fucking college swimmer that's the new trans thing, is the college swimmer. Yeah, she won, but she failed as a male. That's something to be pointed out as. So, and it doesn't, I mean, and this is one where I'll probably sound like a dick. And, you know, Joe Rogan got attacked for this. And I've heard Joe Rogan actually more often than not have support for the trans community than say things that are transphobic. But this is one of those things that really people took the ball and ran with, was when he basically called out this combat sport. It was either a rugby player, or there's also a fucking MMA fighter that's trans. woman and they're like fucking 7 feet tall, jacked up on roids, fucking just slaughtering average sized women in this sports, you know. So people are bent out of shape about that, which for me, it's not. Swimming's a bit different though, you know, but I can see why maybe we might want to get some rules in check before things get too out of hand, you know, because I want to be skinny for my own health, but I know I can't do that without making sacrifices. And I feel like if somebody is trans, that maybe that's probably something they're going to have to come to terms with as well. And maybe being a boxer in a woman's sport when you weigh 325 pounds of solid muscle and you're 6 feet tall might be one of those things you have to fucking put on the table.
Well, I know from my personal experience that like my muscle mass is gone.
Yeah.
I have no strength.
I think though, this is what I think before I go to, all right, I'll actually let you finish because
Okay.
this is important. I'll let you finish.
But taking hormones and being on hormones for so long, I am regularly like pushed around kind of thing by girls who are shorter than me, but it's significantly more muscly. Like I don't feel like I'm any stronger than any other girl I've run across who was my similar height. Granted, I do have a height advantage at 5'11", but as for pure strength, like arm wrestling competition kind of strength, mine is all gone. I can't lift anything compared to how I used to.
Yeah.
And the lack of testosterone really does a number on your endurance and your strength are the two biggest things that it really takes out.
Here's what I think though. I think that these women might be doing this to cash in and they're not really. I think it's very obvious with this, not so much the swimmer, right? She's an exception to the rule, but I'm just saying this because this does open up a whole new world and a whole new thing because it is what's there right now. You know, she didn't break any records. She just won. Like, so there's not any significant proof that her being a male made, or her being trans made her more athletic than a woman. There's no proof there for that. But there is other things that are. And I think you can kind of fucking tell that these women are jacked up on testosterone still. Like by looking at them. They're solid fucking muscle. So I feel like maybe there's going to be people that take advantage of the system, you know, and they know they can make some money off that. And I think that's something that as the trans community might like look at because it kind of causes problems for you for that. Like, so when people like that swimmer do want to fucking go be a swimmer in a woman's league, like, it shouldn't be an issue, but it's always going to be as long as there's these freakishly large women fucking playing in a woman's sport, you know? And this is one of the topics I really was nervous about fucking bringing up because I know it pisses Paige off when I start to talk about it a little bit too. And I know that we've kind of talked about this and I know that we were apart on it. So, but I think it's also important that we do this. So like anybody who listens knows, like you can have a conversation about hard things, you know, and not agree. But like I said, like, I feel like, let me ask you this. If you were an athlete on top of being trans and you were told you couldn't compete unless you weren't trans, do you think it would be that big of a deal to you to quit being an athlete?
I think it would.
You do?
Because especially people who compete at the higher levels, like that's like your identity, that's your lifestyle on top of being trans. And
what would you
being
compare it
trans
to
or
me
something like
asking you
that.
to stop being on your level? Like, because I mean, not everybody has those two things, and I think that might be why it's hard to relate, you know. But I do feel like, especially with this rugby player and this cage fighter, that those women have a significant advantage over other women in that fucking.
Well, I don't know their drug regimen or anything like that, obviously.
Do you think there should be like a testing policy, maybe? There are some in place normally, like.
Well, I mean, if you've got testosterone, large quantities of testosterone, which
Somebody's not playing the game right, or
well, yeah, it'd be the same way with
taking steroids.
Someone who was assigned female at birth in a women's sport. If she was jacked up on all kinds of not steroids, but testosterone,
yeah,
then she shouldn't be allowed to compete being jacked up like that.
I guess that's a good.
But if you're taking your hormones, if you've had any kind of surgery, which I don't know, and that's up to everyone's personal choice. But
does it drop your testosterone considerably?
Significantly. So if you test somewhere within a assigned female at birth normal kind of range, which my endocrinologist says, like, there is a normal-ish range that if you're outside of, they're concerned.
Okay.
And so I don't.
Well,
again, I don't know if
this is why it's important to talk about these, though, because like that seems like a pretty fucking simple solution. It really does, because like, and maybe this is happening, and maybe I should do some more research, because maybe it's already happening, because they do drug test. So, and when they do, they test for testosterone. So like, maybe this is already happening, and maybe they just
it takes a while to get that testosterone out of your bloodstream. Like if you, like when I first started taking my hormones, my testosterone levels actually skyrocket and get really high.
Oh, really?
Because your body's not absorbing it. So it just hangs out in your blood. So you end up with a really high test result for testosterone because your body's not doing anything with it. Like it's still making it, but it's not going anywhere.
That makes sense.
And so you would end up with if you started taking your hormones just to pass this drug test, you'd actually fail it worse than if you were taking it on a regular basis.
Oh, so it'd be really hard to skate around.
You couldn't fake it, really.
That's even crazier. Like, and this is why it's important to have this conversation, because I could have this conversation online. I could go post this right now. I could go be like, I don't think fucking trans women should be able to compete in sports. And 1 million people would attack me, but not sit here and talk to me like you just did.
Yeah.
Because I just learned fucking 3 huge fucking pieces of this puzzle that could make it way simpler, and people are still going to argue. People are still going to fucking argue.
Everyone's going to argue about something.
But for me, it did change my fucking perspective on it quite a bit to know that, that if they just did some simple testing, which who knows if they test for testosterone in women. I don't know if they do.
I don't know if they do either.
But maybe that's a good way to start. I know they test in men, especially in combat sports or in physical sports,
And still not saying that the height and reach advantage that these women have, it would give them an advantage. But if you put them up against someone of equal size, I don't know if they would still have that advantage. I don't think they would.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of times, man, when you're born a male and you identify as a female, you're going to naturally be taller or bigger than your average woman, and that's not a problem to me unless that's the only reason I see it ever being an issue ever. Is like, and it's so minute really, but I harp on it because it is the only thing that I see any kind of issue with, is this fucking small little piece of the fucking puzzle, So I do kind of like, how can we get around? I just want to solve this problem is all, really, you know, so people will shut up, really, kind of, as part of it. Like, one of two things. I feel like, you know, the trans community either just needs to stand up and be like, look, fuck, we won't do combat sports, like, or we'll make our own weight class, kind of, where we compete against each other, you know, or something. Like, or be like, no, your fucking theory's bullshit and this is why. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I think like there needs to be more of that and less bickering about it, so we can just move on from it. Because for me, it's the only hang up I have. I'm like, because like I said, like, I want to fucking get in good shape, you know, and it's important to me to do that. And it's affecting my life, I imagine, probably as closely as I could compare. My weight issues are probably the only thing I can compare my personal inner demons to your issues of being trans growing up. You know, I know that it was way more acceptable to be fat, but that's my demon that I lived with.
Yeah.
And it's the thing about me that I want to change, you know, and just like that, it's a total lifestyle change too. You know, I can't just, especially when you have food, when you eat food like me, it's not a fucking, it's not just go on a diet for me. Like, my fucking relationship with food is awful. It is toxic. It is fucking just as bad, if not worse, as fucking drugs. Like, it's an addiction. I binge eat. I fucking do terrible things. I eat bad. So in order for me to fix this, I have to do a total lifestyle change, just like a trans person would have to do a total lifestyle change. So there's things that I have to essentially fucking compromise. Like, I can't, if I really want to get serious about this and really want to fucking get in shape, I really have to fucking commit myself just as much as a trans person would to this, you know. And that means I can't eat what I want to. I've got to do things the right way. I gotta fucking, just like you gotta take your meds, you have to do this, you gotta do that. I gotta go to the gym. I can't fucking eat carbs. I gotta count my fucking calories, you know. So there's just I guess what I'm saying is, if you want to live your life anyway, there's gonna have to be compromises you have to make. If I want to keep eating the way I am, I gotta come to terms with the fact that I'm gonna be fat and unhappy. You know, no matter where you're from, what you do, what walk of life you are, what race you are, whether you're trans, straight, fucking cis, fucking however you put it, you know. Like, because I know not every trans person is gay, so that's probably a bad way to put it. Like, so that you're gonna get eaten alive for being on this podcast with me.
Yeah.
If for like four, you know, the four people, hopefully there's not one other trans person listening to my podcast right now. Like I said, we can stop. We don't even have to post this if you don't want to. But every fucking, no matter what lifestyle you are, you're gonna have to compromise shit. You know, you can sit on your ass and do nothing. You know, you could be a straight fucking male right now, but you wouldn't be happy. You know, like, there's just pieces of the puzzle you got to compromise. You know, and I feel like I'm not a fucking athlete. You know, so like, but I've always just looked at it this way. Like, I feel like if I was living a life of a trans person and I knew that the only way I could be myself was to be a woman, but I was like a professional football player, it'd be probably a pretty easy choice for me to fucking be like, if they were like, you can't play, if the rule was just like, you can't play, we don't fucking care about your opinions, we don't give a shit. If they stack that against me, I think I would be like, I'm just gonna be trans, you know, because that's more me. But that's just me, you know.
Well, I don't know. I don't think there isn't any real evidence that says like going into a sport as a trans woman makes you better at that sport than anyone else who'd had an equal amount of training and time in the sport and with a similar size because that's, I think a lot of it comes down to their build, and they get an advantage for their reach is longer, their legs are longer, they're taller. But sorry, I just lost my train of thought again.
It's getting late, dude. It's like 11.
It is. So I don't think there's enough evidence to say like, oh, well, these people aren't allowed to play sports anymore because they're just too good. They compete at a better level.
And just to be clear to anybody listening, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that if I was going to question anything about anything, this would be it, you know, and I want to know more about it. You know, that's it. That's all I'm fucking saying, really.
Well, I know if you pit these same women against their male counterparts in like the old sport that they were in before they'd
get their asses handed to them.
Exactly. There'd be no way they couldn't even compete.
Yeah. But yeah, there's still probably a medium there where they do have an advantage, though. I think there's probably some evidence there to support that somehow. But I think the best way to eliminate that, because I've seen these women play too. I'm not just basing this on shit that I've read. I've watched YouTube footage of them just fucking women up. It looks like a man fucking a woman up. Like, I'm just gonna be honest about it, you know? Like, and I'm not saying that's not a wrong way to view it, but it's just how I viewed it, you know? And that's where I'm saying, like, I think it put a lot of people's mind to ease if they did like a testosterone test. Because like you said, like, if they're just fucking, they'll test hotter for testosterone if they try to take their shit later.
Yeah.
You know,
they build up a bunch of muscle and then start taking their hormones.
I mean, I think that's the simplest solution if they're not doing that already, you know.
And I know there's a lot of trans women out there who just don't want to take hormones.
Well, and
like, taking hormones is hard on you.
Here's another thing too. If one thing I should have done is looked at freakishly large, or like looked at extra large women in sports to see how that looks. So I'm not like looking at it from like a simply one-sided view.
Yeah.
Because I know there's got to be like, wow, that fucking woman's huge, you know, like, and she's playing rugby, you know, like, I'm sure they go fucking handpick the biggest fucking women to fucking play rugby. I'm sure there's probably one or two out there that are just as large as that one fucking trans woman. You know, those are things I should do to do better research.
Looking at the WNBA, some of the tallest women.
Yeah. There's not as much muscle mass. This fucking chick was stacked. Like fucking stacked, like, but there are women that look like that too, you know, to be fair, you know, there are bodybuilders that look like that, but I think they're probably fucking using fucking steroids like a man, you know, I really do. And so that gives them an advantage too, you know, which isn't acceptable in sports, especially on an Olympic level or a professional level. It's just not. So
or we even the playing field and let everyone take steroids and just call it good.
That might not be a bad idea. Well, fuck, you know what, man? Like, it's their choice, you know, and I think, I don't know, I am a legalize everything kind of fucking person, really. You know, that's, I guess that is a fucking, they should do special leagues for that, though, because then you'd just be like,
no holds barred.
No fuck, dude, people would be dying and breaking bones like every fucking day. You know, it'd be
whatever drug you want, some cybernetic implants, like, we got you, we got a leak for you. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. You know, and I know I'm putting you in a weird spot. Like I said, we don't even have to post this shit, but yeah, I feel like the only reason I'm saying this shit is I feel like it's important for people to just have conversations. Like, you know, I'm not transphobic. And if anybody listens to this and says I'm transphobic, I don't give a fuck. You know, I give a fuck if they fucking attack you because you're my fucking friend, and that would suck. I don't want to put you in that situation. But if they attack me, I don't fucking care. What are they gonna? They're gonna cancel me, and if they do, who fucking cares? I get like 20 listens. You know, like, it doesn't fucking matter to me. But what does matter is maybe two people Because I got a lot of good old boys that listen to this. Maybe those guys will be like, whoa, maybe I'll get them to think for once. That's my goal. It's not so much to fucking, my goal is not so much to fucking not piss the trans community off. My goal is more to get maybe somebody who's not accepting of this shit to understand a few things that they never thought about. And I'm actually risking both sides, really. Like, I'm risking somebody fucking harassing me for doing this on both sides of it, really. And I don't give a fuck either way. I mean, I'm not transphobic. Some shit I've said may have been transphobic tonight, but if you get down to my core, I'm not transphobic. And I hate that term.
Yeah.
Like I said, but I don't hate trans people. I mean, I don't fucking hate anybody, especially just because of the lifestyle they choose. Fucking pedophiles, rapists, I hate them for their lifestyle, but not trans people or gay people, fucking minorities.
Can I just say that pedophiles are not part of the LGBTQ community?
Anybody who fucking thinks
the people who think so are obviously, I don't know, like, no, they're not part of the community.
Yeah.
They're not accepted. It's not okay.
Well, and here's one thing I always drive home with fucking people that want to bitch about the bathroom situation is like, how many fucking trans women have jacked fucking little boy or little girls out of bathrooms at Walmart? Zero. How many fucking straight men have fucking done it? A lot. Almost every abduction.
Well, so the thing I look at is like, how many assaults by trans women have happened in a bathroom compared to how many sexual assaults there have been in Congress, in the congressional bathroom. Like there's reports of one, churches, there are no reports of the other.
Churches.
And it really, like, this is coming from someone who's had some bathroom issues. All you want to do is pee. That's all you want to do. Or maybe poop if you have to, but really nobody wants to poop in public.
Well, that's what I was like. That's what I've always said is nobody likes to use the bathroom in public. And in foreign countries, they're mixed bathrooms already anyways, and it's just not a deal, like, grow the fuck up. It's kind of like everybody pees and poops. It's like, it's really immature to me. Like, it's never a deal.
And it's really hard when you end up in a place where you don't feel safe going to the bathroom. And you have to go to the bathroom.
Well, you're fucked either way. What are you going to do? You go in the men's room. You're going to get harassed. You go in the men's room. You're going to get harassed. You go in the fucking women's room.
Yeah.
Unless, if there's any fucking question, you're going to have some dipshit redneck in there fucking giving you shit because you're in there. Or you're going to have some fucking dipshit fucking redneck waiting for you outside.
And really, it's just like it.
All you gotta do is pee.
It shouldn't be unsafe.
Do you avoid public restrooms if you can, or do you fucking? Are you past that? Or
it still depends on where I am. Like when I first came out, I was going to Portland, and I was taking hormones, and really going to Portland was the only time that I could, I say, dress up, like wear what is now my normal clothes. Because I still wasn't out. I started hormones a year before I actually came out of the closet, like publicly.
Yeah.
And I pretty much, I didn't come out until it got to the point that I couldn't hide it anymore because, like, I couldn't hide the tits. Like, I couldn't keep people from noticing that I transitioned.
I wonder if people think I transitioned because I have tits.
Because your tits? They're bigger than mine.
Maybe just be like the beard probably gives it away that I didn't, I guess. I don't know.
But there were plenty of times driving to Portland that I would have to pull over on the side of the road somewhere and pee. Because the last town I stopped at with the gas station did not look okay.
Yeah, I can especially imagine the further east you get, man, where you hit like fucking Helix and Arlington.
Yeah, you really have to plan your bathroom breaks on a trip like that. And my first couple of trips, I didn't plan that well. And so I would end up on the side of the freeway, just popping a squat right there on the side of the freeway because I didn't plan. And the last stop I looked at looked way too sketchy for me to want to go in there.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, that's something I didn't even consider, I think, do you feel like that topic's cooled down a bit over the years, or is it still a fucking real problem?
again, I think it depends on where you are.
I don't feel like it's talked about as much
It's
as
not,
it was, but it doesn't mean it's
but,
not a problem.
Like, I've been called out in the Hermiston bathroom
At Walmart
at McDonald's.
oh,
This guy is like waiting for me outside of the bathroom, like, we've got little girls in here. What the fuck are you doing, pervert? I'm like, I'm trying to pee. Like, get the fuck off me. But this guy's ready to throw down the middle of McDonald's because I went to the bathroom.
did anybody say anything at all?
Nope. Of course not.
How old was he?
Some kid.
Oh fuck.
I mean, he was probably in his early to mid 20s.
I would have punched him in his fucking mouth. Fucking dipshit, trying to be some kind of fucking patriot.
Yeah.
This shit fucking irritates me.
Anti-social justice warrior.
Yeah, for sure. And they're the reason this is allowed. They're the reason cancel culture is something that can be considered. Is because it's like their extreme bullshit is the reason there's a problem and nobody can have a sense of humor and people are really seriously getting their feelings hurt and shit. You know, it's because people like that exist, you know, and people like that do mean that shit, you know, like you can't make a little joke on a fucking stand-up comedy special anymore because people like that, you know, and that sucks. Because I don't want to worry about fucking hurting somebody's feelings just because I don't know the right pronoun or like, you know, and this whole fucking podcast, honestly, is giving me a bit of anxiety. Like, I don't want to fucking piss anybody off. I don't want to fucking anybody to think I'm transphobic, you know, but I know that I've said shit on here that pushes the fucking envelope. You know, and I can see it on your face.
I know that there is a large swath of the community that would have problems with what you've said, but I know that it comes from a good place. I know that you're not a hater. You're not here to piss.
But do you think if they really listen to all of it?
That's the thing. I don't know if they'll listen to all of it.
That's part of the problem.
They get mad and turn it off.
That's part of the problem is that there's too much of that, and that's why I feel for Joe Rogan so much. Is because he's he's kind of like aside from all the cage fighting and shit, like I've learned so much from him. And I know people will be like, oh, that is not going to help my fucking battle here at all whatsoever. But people will take 2 minutes of his podcast, listen to that, not listen to anything else. Like, okay, that's transphobic.
Yeah. They take that.
Never mind the next half hour where I'm like, but you know, these are just questions I'm asking. You know, there's like little things I've said in there where maybe it probably sounds kind of like a cop out, but it's not really because these aren't important to me, really. You know, it's not that important to me whether or not a trans woman can fucking play rugby or not, even if they have a significant size advantage. But like I said, I feel like the thing that like it is like the one thing I could see any kind of issue with, so I want to talk about it.
Yeah,
you know? Mainly to get it cleared up so we can move the fuck on from it. Not so much that I can be right. You know, I don't care if I'm right or wrong in the situation. I would rather be wrong, to be honest. Like, I don't want anybody to not be able to fucking do what they love just because they're trans, but I don't want somebody to act like they're trans to take advantage of the system because I've got trans friends and I think it fucking doesn't do good for their cause.
Yeah, but I mean, to completely change your entire life and come out and wreck relationships and name changes and all of the things you have to go through in part of transitioning just so you can play on like a different team. Like I knowing how hard it is to go through a transition, I find it hard to believe that somebody would go through all of that just to change teams and have an easier time.
Maybe this is where being a cis male I could see a cis male doing that. Because of the fact, if there's money involved, and there's big money in combat sports and big money in fucking rugby, like big money, I could see somebody taking advantage of the system to make money. That's my thing. And out of every trans woman that's an athlete, and it's only the women, nobody's bitching about the men transitioning, it's only the women, but out of all the trans women, there's like 2 that I've seen them that are maybe a problem out of all of them. And who knows how many there are, I don't know, but I know there's a lot more than 2.
Yeah.
So, and if you look at the big picture, and this is why people should listen to a whole podcast, is because if you look at the big picture, that's not shit.
Yeah. And what they need to show is more of the trans men and women athletes who are just fucking shitty at their sport. They're just bad at it. Like, they need to show more of us failing at our sport so they can quit holding up the ones that are extra good.
But I mean,
and making.
Yeah, but I mean, 2 cis men acting like they're trans out of all the trans athletes might not be too far of a fetch for me, because then I'm thinking as a cis man, if you dump your life into being an athlete and you fail at that, that is a huge financial burden for you. So people do desperate shit and men are dumb. Like, that's why I'm looking at it from a cis man. And maybe that's part of the reason why is I could see a cis man doing that.
Yeah.
And for me, that pisses me off, because it would piss me off if a cis man did that, because it means like, if you wanted to go play soccer tomorrow, you're going to get shit for it. When I know that you fucking don't have any advantage.
I'd probably blow out my knee again.
Well, fuck yeah, you'd probably fucking, Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, I'm just saying though, like anything that I say is more to help the fucking community, I know, but I feel like these things are important to talk about, because if you don't talk about them like this, they just get fucking aired out online and they're like, nope, we're just not talking about it, or you're a piece of shit for bringing it up, So I did kind of want to be like, that's literally the only fucking problem I see. Like, most of the time I'm just, and it's not even a big deal to me. Like I'm just like, the bathroom thing, instantly I was like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
And that was like a bigger topic, and it still is probably a bigger topic than the sports. But
especially
I'm like,
in school.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, that's where it should fucking not be. Even especially in the grade school level. Like, why the fuck do you care?
Yeah.
This is why there's a problem, is you guys make it seem like a big deal, So, you're going to get in trouble if you go in the girls' bathroom because you might see their pee-pee. Well, that's why it becomes a deal.
Why are you looking? Like, don't
go
digging. There's a stall.
Or even if you accidentally look, like, if you're going to make it a dirty thing so it just sits with somebody like it's something wrong, like people used to walk around naked forever. Like, it wasn't a fucking big deal, it's dumb. But literally that small, tiny thing is the only thing that ever, so like, that's the one thing I'm like, let's talk about this, and I'm sure, I mean, I don't know. I hope I don't piss anybody off. I hope everybody that's listens is probably going to be like a fan already and fucking just listen front to back. I'm hoping your mom listens, I'm hoping like people, like mutual friends listen, I don't know if
I'm sure I've even said things that would at least piss the community off, because I know we've talked about like testosterone and testing and stuff like that, and that falls into the real like trans medicalists who think that to transition you have to take your hormones, you have to get surgery and things like that, which I'm not part of that community at all. Like, I take hormones because I like the way it makes me feel. It makes me feel more comfortable with who I am than before I started taking my hormones. But when it comes to, like you said, like the combat sports and stuff like that, like things where testosterone would give you a severe advantage, like maybe that is a good idea. I don't know. I don't run those things. I'm not involved in any of those things. But I know that statement in and of itself would piss off a lot of the trans community.
Yeah, I know it would. And like I said, I didn't even say it was right or wrong, but I know that it would be taken that way, So I hope I'm going to do like a little disclaimer before. And also I can blurb out your last name. I'm sure any of our close friends will know, but I won't just go fucking tag you in it if that makes you more comfortable. You know, it's going to be 100% my thing. I think I only said your last name once right out the gate. I can put something over the top of that to fucking take it out to make you more comfortable. But,
you need the sound of your cat meowing over my last name.
I'm sure, yeah, there's something I can fucking put there. A little clip. There's on Audacity, there's all kinds of shit I can snip it out and then put like a fucking, I could probably put a cat meow in it.
I heard something about Audacity. God, what was it? It was something, there was another company that took it over.
Spotify has always owned it though.
No, like someone else took it over, I thought. Am I thinking of Audacity? There was someone else who took over a company or took over music editing software that I know we've used before. And it was free.
I use Audacity's different. It's a lot simpler than what we used to use. I can't remember the name of that program.
It was free though.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool, man. And yeah, it was free. It was really good. And I recorded some music on there too.
Some fucking company bought it out and they're like essentially turning it into fucking malware. And so a lot of the open source community got pissed off. They made another version of that app and called it something else and re-released it.
Did they get sued or no?
No, because it was open source.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what the fuck it's called though. We used to use it for dog water all the time. I think I'm actually the one that tipped you off.
You did.
Which is weird.
It never happens. Audacity, because
that never happens. No, Audacity is a new one. That no, it is Audacity. Anchor is what I was talking about, though. Yeah, I'm just an idiot.
Okay, so you're using Anchor now.
Yeah, I'm using Anchor now.
Gotcha. Okay, so don't use Audacity. There's another version of it that's got a different name. Yeah. If you can find it, use that.
Yeah.
Or Anchor, whatever.
So I guess we'll wrap this up this way because I think it's probably a good way to wrap this up. I know. Do you think there'd ever be a reason you transition back?
No. I'm way more happy. And I mean, even when my doctor fucks up my medication, I can feel it. And I start getting grumpy and angry and I don't feel right if I don't take my medications and things like that. And it still bothers me if somebody, calls me sir or he and stuff like that. Like, not people I know, but I mean, just even strangers in public.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is always dude and man, and I say that to everybody, but I try to put it a little more in check, and I've slipped. Like, I always slip around you when I do that, and I always feel bad about it, but that's just something I just do all the fucking time, and I do it to Paige, I do it to fucking.
I'm okay with it because it's you.
But it would probably bug you if it was somebody else.
Exactly.
And one time, this is another thing, this put a lot of things in. This is another moment where I had to step back and be like, and think about shit because of you. And this was after you transitioned, and I was like, I called you dude like 100 fucking times in like 10 minutes. And it was like almost like a nervous tick. Like once I started doing it, I just couldn't fucking stop. I knew I wasn't like, I was like, fucking shut the fuck up. I was like in my own head. I'm like, you fucking idiot. Stop. And I would just do it and do it and do it. And finally I was like, I apologize. I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry. And you're like, but also at the same time, even though I was in my head doing that, I was kind of comfortable with it. At the other side, I'm like, I'm arguing with myself kind of. I'm like, she doesn't care. Just you're being hard on yourself and you're making this worse. She doesn't care, like, but I just addressed it and you were like, yeah, you're like, it's not a problem, but you're lucky it's you because I'd be pissed if it was somebody else. And just how you said it, I was like, it's bugging her a bit. Like, you need to get this shit in check. Like, don't let this be a habit,
And I know I've calmed down a lot. I'm much more secure with who I am now than back when I first transitioned and things like that. And that's why, like, you've done it tonight. It doesn't bother me. It hasn't bothered me all night. But yeah, if it was some stranger, if I go to Denny's and someone says, "Here's your food, sir,"
Yeah.
then I'm pissed. You just ruined my day. But,
Yeah. And I know, like, too, like, I mean, I just do it to all women. It's not everybody's dude. And it's like something I'm trying to like be more self-conscious about. It's almost like when you're like, okay, we can't say homophobic shit anymore. Now it's like, well, now we need to work on just calling everybody dude, like it's as simple as that, But well, let me ask you this. Because one concern I was pretty open about when you said it was more, or when you told me that you're going to transition, is like, I don't know if it's a taboo or if it's a real concern or not, honestly. But is there any like health concerns that you have with taking the medicine you do, or medication you do? Is there anything that you specifically have to be on the lookout for that you've actually had problems with?
my magnesium and my potassium levels.
Okay.
Because the testosterone blockers I'm on, spironolactone, is very common. It's you hold on to more of your potassium. It's easier to have way too much or not enough in your system. So you have to be really careful with your potassium and magnesium consumption. Like if I buy a bushel of bananas and eat them all by myself throughout the week, that is too much potassium. If I'm taking my medicine, I've had too much and I'll start getting cramps and stuff. So that's the only one that I've really run into. Another one is like my liver function. The same medicine, the spironolactone, is bad for your liver. And it's not bad right away, but it will be in another 20, 30 years when I'm starting to get old and body parts start failing. The liver will be one of them.
Do you think at that point in time you'll just be well, at that point in time you'll be so old your testosterone will probably be fucking the shits anyways. Mine went out on me. I think I've had problems with my testosterone since I was a kid.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I've been pretty open about being a late bloomer. I got fucking kicked in my balls so fucking hard when I was younger. I think that might have contributed to it. Like probably should have went to the hospital, but given the fact that we were in the area where we were at, we were pretty poor and health insurance wasn't all that.
Yeah, health insurance wasn't a thing.
Yeah. So my mom just was like, oh, it's just a thing, and almost just as much as anything else, having low testosterone was almost taboo back then.
Yeah.
Like it was always almost like, whatever, just put some dirt on it and put your boots on, when you're like, fuck, like I literally am so fucking beat. Like, like, boo, knock it off, you psycho.
Yeah. Guys would be like, suck it up, buttercup.
Well, yeah, dude. And like
pouring out.
I feel so much better now that I have more of it.
Yeah.
I imagine that when I was I honestly imagine that when I was almost borderline sick from it, my testosterone was probably lower. It was probably in like it could possibly have been in trans territory even. I don't know. Because women do have testosterone in their system,
yeah.
Right? How much do you know?
I don't have the numbers anymore. I used to, but I haven't seen it.
Just stop giving a shit. I don't blame you. Yeah, I stopped paying attention to you because I had to pay attention for a while and I stopped. That's why I don't know. But it was low.
I just haven't been tested in a while.
Yeah.
So.
It was fucking low. Mine was. So like probably even lower than a trans woman because I had no energy whatsoever, and I don't know if you balance that out with, estrogen, it gives you more energy. Is that how it works? No. So then I probably was low for even a trans, the trans woman, but I'll tell you, man, on the other flip side of that coin, my life has changed dramatically for the positive since I've got it.
Yeah.
You know, like I instantly have energy. That's when it's so much easier to try to go to the gym and try to get my shit in check when I have it, you know. And if I don't, I feel it, man. So it's another thing.
Well, eventually.
But sorry, what I was gonna say is eventually when you get old though, your testosterone is gonna drop. So like you probably just quit taking those meds when you get old anyways, you think, or no?
I honestly don't know. I don't know at what point. And maybe it'll like cut my dose smaller or something like that.
Yeah.
But really, like my ultimate goal, which this has to do with surgery and all of that stuff, which isn't something that I talk about often, but is to get an orchiectomy.
Okay.
Where they remove the eggs. The huevos.
The huevos.
So you keep the meat and remove the 2 veg.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that's what you were talking about that.
Yeah. So that's just, and then I won't have to take that medicine anymore.
Oh, really? At all?
Yeah.
It's that simple.
I just have to worry about taking my estrogen after that.
Okay. Well, that's a simple fucking fix then.
The only problem is I need, what is it? A reference from 2 different psychologists who say I'm not crazy before I can even get reference to a doctor. So you have to live full-time as a woman for a year. And get a reference from 2 different psychologists, one who has to be board certified, saying that you're not crazy, essentially. You're not mentally unstable, and you're making a sound decision based on the information you have.
Okay.
Before a doctor will even touch you.
Then you got to find one that'll touch.
And then you got to find a doctor, which actually Portland has Dr. Dougie, who does really good work, apparently. But what?
I'm sorry, the name just sounds like somebody that would cut your nuts off.
It could be it could be Dungy or something like that. I've only read it and I always imagined his name was Dougie. So yeah, and then it's just an outpatient procedure. It's like snip, snip.
Yeah,
put some ice on it,
it's probably
away. It's not a big deal.
It's probably going to cause a bunch of financial hardship, though. Let me guess, no fucking insurance company will cover it.
No, I think OHP covers it.
Weird.
Yeah. I don't know if my insurance covers it.
Yeah.
My insurance covers my hormones.
Does it?
Yes.
Well, that's cool because sometimes they won't, I think.
I know. And OHP, I remember when OHP started covering.
Mine doesn't cover my testosterone.
Really?
And it's medically. And my doctor fought his ass off. It was like, motherfucker's over 400 pounds. Like, yeah, his testosterone is like, his low testosterone is causing him problems. Like, this is not just like a dude that's going to the gym that's like, hey, bro, I got low testosterone. I need more. No, this guy's testosterone is like, I can't remember correctly, but I think my testosterone was supposed to be at 1500 and I was at 200. So like I was low.
Yeah.
And, so, but yeah, but my doctor's literally like telling my insurance company, like, what the fuck? And they were like, all right, well, we'll kind of cover it. Like, we're not covering it for shit though. Like, I still pay 3/4 the cost and it's expensive. It cost me like $70 a month, I think.
Are they giving you the shot?
Yeah, I have to have Claire give it to me because fucking I can't do it myself because I got to put it in my ass cheek. So, but yeah, it's a shot because he encouraged that because he said, my uncle though, and I might try this, he says he takes it every day because my uncle's got low testosterone too. And he says that he takes it in a tablet every day. He went to a specialist, and not only did the specialist, he says it's a shit ton of money, but it helped him. It changed his game because there's 3 ways you can take it. There's like a gel, and you don't want that shit because if you get it on, like, I couldn't hug my daughter without her like sprouting hair if she accidentally touched me, you know? So like, and it causes other health problems too for females, I think, if they touch it in that form. I don't know. Maybe not, though. Maybe it is just hair. But he made it sound like it was way serious. So I could just be judging brashly. on that. But there's the shot, and then my uncle said there's this pill form, but they also test for everything. Like they're like, okay, what other chemical imbalances do you fucking have? Because we're just gonna throw it all in this fucking pill that you have to take once a day.
Yeah.
He said it's expensive, but he's like, fuck, it was a game changer. So I kind of want to do that. But it's already fucking expensive just to get the goddamn shot.
I know. I tried to get on the shot for all of my drugs.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
She's like, no, you're already on medication. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm already on medication, and the shot is better. Like, the shot is like driving to work in a Ferrari as opposed to driving to work in a VW Bug. And she's like, wow, your levels are fine. You've been doing good with the pills.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever.
Might be cheaper though, and if your levels are fine, she might save you some money.
Yeah.
But fuck. And there's no rhyme or reason to fucking the medical field, man. Fucking Claire is having all kinds of female problems. And she wants a fucking hysterectomy, and they won't give it to her. And she's bleeding like a bucket of fucking blood a month.
Yeah.
They'll go in and fucking charge a shit ton of money to go in there and half-ass everything. But fuck no, they won't just go and take care of the problem. She's had like 3 surgeries. And they're like, okay, well, we'll take a little bit here.
Does she have like a fibroid or something?
Mm-hmm. And she's had like they'll take one cyst out and another one will grow, It's like but like, I'm like, why does she even have to fight this? She's almost fucking 40 years old. It's not even the fact. First off, they shouldn't have the right to tell her shit, period.
They're trying to protect you in case you make a decision when you're young and stupid and you're going to regret it later. Which because I call like bullshit. 3
fucking women in the past tried to sue a fucking hospital. That's why you have waivers.
It's the same thing with men getting a vasectomy. You have to have children or be old enough.
But it's a lot easier.
It is.
Because Jody was like under 30 and only had 1 kid, and they were just like, up on the table, sir. And Jody's doctor gave him a shot of whiskey. It was like a fucking tradition, I guess. I was like, your doctor took a shot of whiskey with you? He's like, oh yeah, he's just at a hermit and he does it with everybody. He took a shot of fucking, did it right on his doctor's desk. Like I was awake for the whole thing. I'm like, what the fuck? I would not let that happen. Like I would be like, you let him take a shot with you? He's like, yeah. Like, and that's like named a list of our friends that have vasectomies.
Yeah.
That these people, they're the ones that told me to do it. I'm like, fuck that. Like, no.
Can I go in there? He could just take him out and just take him
he probably could. But yeah, I mean, fuck. It's just stupid. You know? That's fucking dumb. There's probably a little bit of truth to the side of things that at some point in time, some woman probably successfully sued the shit out of a hospital for some reason. But that's like a court problem. It's not a medical problem. It's no reason to make every woman fucking regret or pay for it, or whatever it is, there's things for everything.
Like you said, there's got to be people who regretted the surgery that they got at some point in their life,
but they're the ones that made that decision.
Maybe they're 18 and they're like, I'm never having a child ever, and then they hit 30 and they're like, oh my god, I can't have children, like what did I do? It's like, okay, well now you adopt a child because you made that decision when you were 18. And you have to live with the consequences, but that means you just go adopt a child.
Well, and a lot of the time it's because of health issues. It's not because of the fact they don't want kids, and it's because of serious health issues. And then you're gonna end up adopting anyways. You're not gonna Claire tried for fucking 8 years to have a fucking baby, and it didn't happen. And we couldn't afford to figure out whose problem it was. I got low testosterone and fucking weird shit going on with me, and she's got fucking weird shit going on with her. Could have been both of us, but we never could afford to fucking tell who it was. But then when it came to the point where she was like, I'm fucking done, I'm bleeding fucking a fucking bucket of blood, we're not fucking having a fucking kid, like fucking I'm tired of this shit, like I just want to be done. It's just taxing. They're like, no, and it's always a man.
Oh yeah,
it's always a fucking. And the first mistake we made is we went to St. Anthony's. I'm like, of course. As I told her, the gay, I said, if you want to get a hysterectomy, don't go to a fucking Catholic hospital. You fucking kidding me? But
on the flip side of that, when it comes to old white men in medicine, so someone I know had the same problem, had a fibroid, they were bleeding buckets of blood, and they went to the doctor to get it checked out. And he looked at the scans and was immediately like, you should just get your uterus removed. So you don't have to worry about it anymore, because we could try to cut it out, but it's probably going to grow back. Don't even worry about it. Just get it removed. And like pulled his glove off and walked away. Like, and I'm sitting there like, he didn't even discuss options. He didn't do shit. Like he just literally just told her like, take it. Like just take it out.
That's another thing. It's like so weird. Like, what is the rhyme or reason to these doctors? Because like, yeah, Claire's went to 3 different fucking gynos around here to try to get this shit taken care of. And I know she has problems. I live with her.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you can't hide them. Like she fucking gets up in the middle of the night to piss and there's a fucking blood all over the toilet seat because she's tired and she sleepwalks kind of to piss. So she didn't clean it up, you know? So it's like, she's not doing it to be fucking,
she's not trying to be gross.
No, she's not trying to be gross. And in fact, she's ashamed of it and does like nobody, she doesn't want her husband waking up to that. You know, it's embarrassing to her. And as somebody who cared for her, you know, like it's not fun for me to watch her go through that, you know? So it's like, to me, I'm like, this is the fucking dumbest fucking thing. She's got health insurance. She pays for it. And they'll charge her, they charge out the ass for 3 surgeries to do shit that fucking didn't help. And that should have been like, okay, well, we tried this. Like, okay, like second time, I wouldn't have been so pissed. But she's been in there like 3 times.
Yeah. One, it's A, it's her body, and B, she's sitting there saying, okay, this isn't working.
And she's jumped through their fucking hoops.
Yeah, just fucking take it.
She's jumped through every one of their fucking hoops. Yeah. And it's still, she said the last one helped quite a bit, but it's like essentially she's got like a 90% hysterectomy now. They just chiseled away at it and charged a bunch of money when they could have done one fucking procedure and listened to her the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking stupid. She's like, I'm goddamn almost 40. Like my window's closed, you know? Let's just get it done. And I guess some of their, well, it's unhealthy to fucking go into early menopause if you can avoid it.
Don't take the ovaries. They can take the uterus and leave her ovaries behind.
Yeah.
And then she won't go through early menopause.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand it all that much. But yeah. I guess that's.
Or she can get on the same medicine I'm on. And then she won't have to worry about it.
She might actually be on
a lower dose.
She might actually be on something like that. I think it's supposed to be helping her, but I don't think it does all that much.
No, I mean after the hysterectomy.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Give her some estrogen, she'll be okay.
Yeah. Dude, my mom had to get a hysterectomy because she had cancer. And it was like, that was the only way. It taken it all over. So they're like, you know, it was essentially the luckiest cancer you could really get because they caught it before it spread further than there. But she's like 24 years old, and this is in that same time where there's no health insurance. So they're putting her on estrogen and hormone pills, taking her, and then her fucking insurance would lapse, and she couldn't afford it. So Jesus fucking Christ, there's another fucking whole thing that was just back then, watching my mom go through that shit where bad shit fucking crazy because she's 20 something years old having fucking hot flashes and they're taking her fucking health, or they're taking her fucking pills away from her, you know, she can afford them. It's fucking dumb. Fucking medical fucking.
It is. And having your insurance tied in with your job is kind of the stupidest way to do health insurance. But
well, they never
podcast right there.
Well, yeah, they never cover shit, you know. The only reason I got such good care with my knee is because it was an auto claim. And unfortunately, it was liability, or else I would have got treated a lot better. But I was lucky because there was just enough money to get the fucking best doctor in Oregon. Because like I could start the claim. Like if I would have sent it to with the insurance I had, my insurance would have potentially fought it and been like, it's not a necessary surgery. But since it's an auto claim, State Farm's just like, yeah, whatever. So they start it. And then my fucking insurance company was more easily persuaded since there was already a ball rolling. But if I would have been So it took care of a lot of the initial costs. So they were like, all right, I guess this is a necessity. But I've heard about them being like, no, your ACL isn't a fucking necessity. It's just a fucking cause, or it's not a necessity. You don't need it.
So yeah, gimp around, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't affect me too badly after a while, to be honest. I mean, it was really unstable, and I could feel if you physical therapy it right, you can live a pretty normal life without an ACL in your knee. I'm pretty sure my little cousin doesn't have one in either one of his, and he's a fucking paramedic and a firefighter, but he's athletic as shit, and he rehabbed it right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big dude. I'm fucking older than he is, you know, and he's gonna have problems later, probably. Because what I felt happen is like, so there's initial pain, swelling all the fucking time, and then I got used to it and it stopped. So, but every once in a while I'd buckle. But I mean, I was doing fucking half hour, 45 minutes on the fucking treadmill a day, walking all the time, had a brace to support it, you know, but it wasn't causing me chronic pain. But I feel like what was going to happen, because I'm so big and I couldn't, even though I was rehabbing it twice a week, I wasn't, that my physical therapist wasn't pushing me that hard, and I wasn't doing anything at home. So my muscles weren't engaging completely properly. But the point of physical therapy for it before is you teach all your muscles around your ACL to work more, so your ACL doesn't have to
compensate for
yeah. So I mean, they hooked my fucking leg up to a fucking electric shock stem.
The tension.
Yeah, dude. And I'd loved it after a while, because my leg would work perfect for like 4 days after that. But because my calf right here would just fucking take care of anything that ACL wanted, it didn't want to, you know. And then I've got the thigh, but my calves are huge from packing my fat ass around. So barely even noticed I didn't have one, you know. But over time it would have wrecked me. And it was already doing it, because when they cracked it open, he's like, oh, there was more damage than we thought. And they're like, you actually tore your back tendon. And I'm pretty sure I did that after I tore my ACL by it trying to overcompensate. He's like, but it healed itself. So we left it alone, but it was tore at one point in time. Yeah. I think I found out my pain tolerance is higher than I thought it was, because I had like fucking all my meniscuses were fucked. My fucking ACL was fucked. And then my back tendon was fucked. And I'm going back to work 3 weeks early. And off crutches already, you know. So knock on wood, the next time it happens, I guarantee you it'll be a million times worse, because it's just how it goes.
Yeah.
I feel blessed, actually. I thought it was gonna be bad. But yeah, so now we're talking about shit that's not about you anyways. But
that's okay.
Anyways, we probably better turn this off. I think it's pretty long. I think I probably pissed off enough people. And then once I turn this off, we can talk about whether or not you actually want to post it or not. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys got something out of this shit. If you didn't, I'm sorry. And if I'll give a disclaimer beforehand too, but this was not a podcast to try to offend anybody. And these are not even really my opinions, just so much questions that I feel like maybe I was trying to get an answer from somebody that had a bird's eye view on the thing, or the situation, so I could better understand. I believe that was successfully had happened as well. You know, the whole point is that I think we should be able to have conversations about things without people getting mad, and without people just hearing something they don't like and just turning it off, you know, because
and to anyone who did get mad, I'm not an expert. I'm just some fucking bitch who decided to transition, and I'm his friend, and we decided to talk about it, and that's it.
That's it. So later.